Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Okay, so the two people in the green work in the building.
Good morning on day 4 of the rebellion. We're down at Lloyds of London, one of the biggest insurers in the world, where 40 brave rebels this morning have glued on, locked on, shutting down or blocking the entrances to Lloyds of London. And the reason we're here is Lloyds of London insure 40% of the world's energy, including coal, gas, oil, tar sands. And in Canada, there's a project at the moment called the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which is ploughing through Aboriginal lands, destroying their heritage, and we're standing in solidarity with them. Tar sands are one of the dirtiest fossil fuels, and Lloyds of London insure that project. And they've been asked to divest. A lot of other insurers that are involved in that pipeline have divested, actually. They've moved away from projects like that, but Lloyds and their CEO, John Neal, he continues to support such projects. In fact, he's doubled down on fossil fuel projects, claiming it provokes intelligent debate or some such words like that. So we're here to make our voices heard, as we are on every day of the rebellion, targeting the real fossil fuel criminals. Lloyds of London is about one thing: marketplace for insurance, supporting fossil fuel projects that are making profit for a few at the expense of many. And of course, Lloyds have a long history of colonialism activities. A lot of their wealth was built on the slave trade, and they continue to this day to support projects which really are ecocidal. Let's just have a little look around. We got the people locked on and glued on the doors down here. Let's have a quick look. End fossil fuels now. Ensure climate justice. Morning, folks. Everyone all right? So this is the main entrance to Lloyds of London, and you can see down here there's people locked and glued onto the doors. So, yeah. How's it going down here? Everyone all right? Would you like to say a little bit about why you're here? Is that all right? I'll just pass you the mic here. So you've glued onto the floor, have you?
I'm glued onto the floor because it's the only action I feel I can take to deliver a message that we need to stop fossil fuels. We need to stop them now. And Lloyds is one of the top 4 insurers of the fossil fuel industry companies. So if Lloyds Insurance, via their marketplace, stopped insuring fossil fuel industries, then they would not be able to explore for new climate-wrecking fossil fuel, oil and gas pipelines and tar sand pipelines.
Oh, so I was reading about that tar sand pipeline. It's in Canada, isn't it?
It's in Canada,
the Trans Mountain Pipeline. It's one of the dirtiest sorts of fossil fuels, isn't it, I think?
It is, and it crosses Indigenous people's lands, and they have been campaigning for years to stop that pipeline. So we're also in support here of people in the global south who don't have a voice to be here. Climate change is already, climate ecological destruction and the climate emergency is already destroying so many lands, and millions of people are going through untold suffering as a result of climate change right now.
And so Lloyds of London are really complicit in that then?
They're very complicit complicit in that, and in fact they have been for hundreds of years. Lloyd started around the same time as the transatlantic slave trade, so it's rooted in exploitation, and I will not be a bystander with that. And I'm also calling on everybody out there who may be seeing this to step up and join in this fight. It's really important, and action has to be taken now.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your action today. Maybe we could catch up with you a bit later, depending on how long you're here for. Yeah, thanks for your actions, everyone. Right, if you're just joining us, we're at Lloyds of London, where activists have glued, or rebels have glued on, holding banners, blocking all the entrances. And we've actually got some clips from earlier that we can switch to, just to let you know what happened when they first got here. So maybe take a look at those now. Lloyds of London, what an enormous edifice in the heart of London's financial district, one of the biggest insurers of the world. And we just heard from one of the rebels who's glued on the front door, and why we're here today. Lloyds of London insure gas, oil, tar sands, coal projects, 40% of the world's energy. And they really are complicit in ecocide and the climate crisis, as well as ignoring Aboriginal people's rights. So we've got this Trans Mountain pipeline in Canada, which is ploughing through Aboriginal lands, destroying that, polluting them. The Aboriginal people haven't given their consent at all for this, so they're being completely ignored. Yet another colonialist act by this massive insurer, which is so complicit in the climate crisis. We've got a banner over here as well that emphasises that. You can see they're locked on all the doors. So you've got the main doors down to my right, where people have locked on and glued on there, and then all the other doors. So I think the rebels this morning have blocked all the entrances. Lloyds insure colonialisation, or CO2 Linonia. I can't even say that this time in the morning. I was up early this morning. So if you're just joining us, Lloyds of London is where we are. Please like, comment, share on this live stream, get the news out there of what we're doing, why we're here at Lloyds of London. This enormous insurer, the CEO John Neal, is doubling down on climate wrecking investments, doubling down on fossil fuel projects. He claims that it provokes intelligent debate. Well, the only intelligent comments seem to be coming from scientists, not Lloyds of London, who are saying that CO2 emissions are destroying our planet, destroying our futures right now and our future of our children. And they have a long history of this, of course, as we just heard from the rebel down there. She's glued on. They were founded on the transatlantic slave trade, so that's where they got a lot of their money from. And their frankly immoral actions continue to this day. We'll just have a little wander down this passage and see who's locked on down here. Let's see if we can talk to a few people. Hi folks, would anyone like to talk to the live stream this morning? Yeah, would you like to say why you're here? That'd be wonderful. So, you're right at the very front doors. How are you feeling, all right?
Yeah.
Right place to be? Right. If you can speak into the mic there and let us know. Yeah, introduce yourself if you like and let us know why you're here.
Yeah, of course. So, I've come here today especially to this building because the Lloyds of London are one of the worst company in the world, I'd say. They're insuring the all the oil projects, bigger ones in the world. Even when other insurers drop them, they are taking them on. So it's just absolutely terrible. Recently, it was the Transcend line in Canada, or the tar sands in Canada. So, and it needs to stop.
That pipeline sounds awful, doesn't it?
Yes.
Going through, I mean, I was reading about that this morning. It's destroying Aboriginal people's lands, and
exactly.
They haven't given their consent, have they, for that?
No. So they are not only destroying more of the environment, but also taking away land from the Indigenous people, which is obviously absolutely terrible, and it just all needs to stop.
Yeah, and the only way to seem to make them listen is to take direct action, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly.
As we know.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Okay, and you're here for as long as it takes? Or?
Absolutely, yes.
Good. I can see you've got some pretty hefty chains there.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're thoroughly locked on for the day.
Yeah.
See what happens. Well, thank you very much. We'll be around to cover you during the day. Let's see if we can speak to some more people. Take care. So we're just hearing there, people are all saying the same thing about this ecocidal company, Lloyds of London, where the action started early this morning. How are you guys down here? All good? All glued on? Again, another story, Lloyds, Insure, Colonialism, and they've done that since their inception. Would you like to say a few words for the XR live stream? Yeah. No obligation about why you're here? Let's go in. Just introduce yourself and, yeah. You can just hold it there. It's fine.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm here because Lloyds are a key enabler in the fossil fuel industry. Without insurance, many projects can't go ahead, and they're the last stop shop for many fossil fuel projects like the Trans Mountain pipeline in Canada that goes across Indigenous people's lands, and we're here in solidarity with them.
It sounds like a lot of insurers have actually pulled out of that project, but Lloyds of London haven't yet. They've decided to plough on with that.
Yeah, they haven't. Through activist pressure, most insurers refuse to insure it.
Yeah.
And Lloyds have become the last stop shop for many. They insure 40% of fossil fuel projects around the world.
Phenomenal amount of money must go through them then. Yeah. So you're glued on. I can see your hand is glued onto the door there, and you're going to be here for as long as you can remain.
As long as we can stay here. Yeah, absolutely.
Understandable. Yeah, and standing in solidarity with those Aboriginal peoples in Western Canada with that horrible tar sands.
It's tar sands.
Do you know a little bit about tar sands?
A little bit. I mean, it's essentially the filthiest method of extraction.
Yeah.
For oil, and it goes in huge pipelines, generally across Indigenous people's lands, and they have no say in what has happened, and their heritage is destroyed.
They've been destroyed, and they're just being ignored, as so often the global north does. It ploughs through these people's rights, doesn't it? Well,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here today. Maybe we'll catch up with you a bit later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care. Really good to speak to these rebels. And we have our we've got 4 demands in action at the moment. Obviously, tell the truth, which is what these rebels are doing here today, telling the truth about Lloyds of London and their activities in the insurance regime. Maybe come and speak to you in a little bit, if that's all right. Thank you very much. Yeah, tell the truth about the fossil fuel industry and what it's doing to the planet. Act now to reduce emissions. Act now on the eco side. And form citizens' assemblies to be guided by, the government could be guided by, to decide what we should do next for a better way of life. And the 4th demand for this rebellion we brought in is end all new investments in fossil fuels right now. And that includes insuring fossil fuel projects. So the rebels here this morning, been here since around 7 a.m, I think. I think all the doors have been glued or locked onto. Let's just have a look over this direction. The arts teams have been busy making banners by the looks of it. So, yeah, I think the employees are trying to find a way in, but not very successfully at the moment. People are turning up for work and obviously disrupting ordinary people's day-to-day activities. Not something everyone wants to do, but it feels like the right thing to be doing with Lloyds of London. I'm just showing you a picture of a concrete column. That's not very exciting, is it? But here we are, Lloyds of London main entrance. 2 rebels down there have got a big chain across the door. And again, on the revolving doors, they're glued on and locked on there. Next set of doors down again, glued on, locked on. And then the side entrances and exits have been blocked as well, because we know activism works. And people may question why we're causing disruption, but obviously long history of civil disobedience, both in this country and abroad. You have the civil rights movements in America, you have the Indian independence movement, Gandhi, the suffragettes. They were reviled at the time, these people. They were hated. I heard yesterday how Martin Luther King was one of the most despised people in the world. The suffragettes were generally regarded as lunatics and really disliked. But now we look back at those people and realise what they were doing was completely justified and right, because that's the only thing that brings about change. So we're in London all week. We arrived on Saturday. We'll be taking action all week, as well as outreach with the general public. Here till Saturday, Sunday time. So please do get down and join us if you can. And if you can't, then talk to your friends, family and colleagues. Let them know what's going on, because the mainstream media, they're complicit in this as well. They don't cover things when they should cover things. The climate crisis, the ecological emergency is one of the biggest threats to our lives at the moment. And right now, the crisis is happening right this moment. People in the global south are dying. And Aboriginal people's lands, as we heard from people just now, in Western Canada are being destroyed right now because of the fossil fuel industry. So please let your friends, family, colleagues know what's going on. Like, share, comment on this live stream and get the news out there. And we'll be here covering this action for as long as it goes on this morning. And I'll try and not fall off this step. We'll maybe talk to a couple of other people in a few minutes' time. Everyone, would anyone like to speak? I'm on with the UK live streaming team. Would anyone like to speak? No obligation to at all. You're all good? Everyone comfortable? Excellent. Take care of yourselves. Thanks very much for your action today. And a lot of these rebels, they haven't done direct action before. And we got people from all walks of life, whether it be, we saw doctors being arrested on Lambeth Bridge the other day, doctors and nurses, scientists being arrested when they took action at Shell. But we also have teachers, plumbers, electricians, project managers, analysts, gardeners, grandparents, students, all photographers, economists. Oh, we have economists taking action as well. Fantastic. Would you like to talk to the camera, sir? We're on the UK live stream. I can come and have a chat with you in a little bit if that's all right. No problem whatsoever. Fantastic. I'll come back in a few moments. Yeah, so economists as well taking action. People from all normal walks of life just trying to make their voice heard, because they're very concerned about scared and enraged even about the future this government is leading us into. Still supporting fossil fuel projects. So Boris Johnson's government, despite the climate crisis, despite what the words of COP26, want to start 40 new oil and gas projects in the UK. That's what they're tabling at the moment. They want to increase fossil fuel extraction to try, well, in their words, to try and get us out of this price crisis that we're in, the energy crisis, which was actually here before the Ukrainian conflict started. And they're even considering restarting fracking, and that may be another thing that Lloyds of London gets its mitts on from an insurance point of view, because as we heard earlier, 40% of the world's energy projects are insured via Lloyds of London. So it's no wonder that normal people are taking direct action, because lobbying, writing letters, speaking to your MP is just not making any difference. We're right in the heart of London. You can see over there we've got the Gherkin to my right, peeking through the buildings. I think there's a big Aviva office around here as well. So much money must be channeled through the financial district. And this huge edifice, Lloyds of London building here, where all the entrances are blocked. If you're just joining the stream, welcome to day 4 of the rebellion down in London. Or if you're rebelling from home, please like, share, comment, get the story out there. We're at Lloyds of London, one of the biggest insurers in the world, insuring 40% of the world's fossil fuel projects. And their CEO is said to be John Neal, I think his name is, if memory serves. I may have got that name wrong, it's early. But doubling down on fossil fuel projects, he thinks that's the way to go to keep his shareholders, his investors happy, earning pots of cash for a very few people while the rest of the world has to live with the consequences of increased emissions of this climate wrecking, ecology wrecking practice of extracting fossil fuels from the ground. And I think we're going to go over and hear from someone else now, so another rebel on the ground here, so over to you.
Hi, I'm with one of the guys who are chained on to Lloyd's. Can you tell me why you're doing this?
Because fossil fuel projects can't happen without insurance, and while a lot of insurers have backed away from underwriting these projects, Lloyds of London have not. They've sort of said they have or are going to, but it's in a very greenwashy sort of way. One of the terrible projects they are insuring at the moment is this one, the Trans Mountain Pipeline in Canada, which is not only devastating the environment there, but also cutting across the sacred lands of the First Nation people. And it's a travesty, and we just can't live like this in relation to our planet anymore. We need to start living with it and not treating it as a resource to plunder. Yes, that's why we're here.
Are you quite nervous about all this?
Yeah, so nervous. I thought I was going to be sick when we were on the way here. I mean, I really, I know we all say this, I really don't want to be here this morning, do this. I've hardly slept last night. I'm missing out on a day's work. I'm self-employed. But this is the bigger picture. So it's really important.
Thank you for your time.
So.
Good, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Really good to hear from rebels on the ground and why they're here and what they're doing this for. The woman we were hearing from there, she's taken time off from her job to take this action. She didn't sleep last night. She felt sick this morning doing this. So a lot of these people have not taken actions like this before. It's an incredibly brave thing to do, but they're so concerned about the future and so angry about not being listened to and the scientists being ignored that they just have to take action. And Lloyds of London surely are one of the biggest climate criminals on the planet with their insurance project. 40% of the world's energy, coal, oil, gas, tar sands projects we've been hearing about this morning, the Trans Mountain Canadian pipeline that's ploughing through Aboriginal lands. Arctic drilling, I think they're involved with as well. We might go and try and chat to a few other people. There was an economist chap that we might go and speak to, if I can find him a bit later. Would anyone here like to talk to the UK live stream? Get your voice out there, no obligation to. No, you're all right. Would you like to? Fantastic. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass you this. You can speak into that little mic there, or I can just hold it here, actually, that's fine.
Yeah, I've got to hold my banner.
Yeah, no worries. So, I'm James, I'm with the UK live stream team.
Okay.
You're taking action with Lloyds of London today. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here?
Well, I'm Rosemary. I'm from Lincolnshire, and I've come down to London for the week to protest against climate change and the inaction of the government and big businesses and Lloyds of London. They invest and insure and underwrite loads of fossil fuel investments in exploitation throughout the world. In fact, they do that for 40% of all fossil fuel.
Phenomenal amount of money going through them.
Yeah. And really, they've said that they're going to get rid of all their insurance investment in fossil fuels by 2030. That's far too late. I mean, I know it's only 8 years away, but even that's too long away.
When the IPCC report has told us that, I think, hasn't
We've
it?
got 2 or 3 years now, and if we don't do something, we're going to reach these tipping points with the climate such that the planet will just have runaway climate change, and the planet will become uninhabitable, not only for all plants and animals, but also for humans.
Yeah.
I've got children and grandchildren. Really concerns me.
So you're doing that for them as well as yourself, really?
I'm doing it for the planet because I love the planet. I love the plants and trees and everything. But yes, the nearest and dearest to me are my children and my grandchildren.
And you're from Lincolnshire, you say?
I'm from Lincolnshire, yes.
Down to London today. Oh, that's brilliant. And I'm just looking at your lovely earrings, actually, with the XR symbol on. Very cool, very funky.
Well, I'm a member of the samba band, and we went to a samba camp the other week, and some person was making these, and I thought, oh yes, they look really great, so I was wearing them today.
Get our symbol out.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Is it Rosemary?
Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Yes.
Great to meet you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Very much. Good to hear from more rebels on the ground, and I think we can go to another interview now.
Lizzie. Lizard. Right. So, hi. I've just asked this person's name, but so what's your name again?
Lizard.
Lizard. Okay, it's an unusual name.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are you doing here today?
So I'm here glued on to raise awareness and to put pressure on Lloyds of London and people who are aware of Lloyds of London that insuring fossil fuel projects like the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion in West Canada is not the way that we are going to save this planet, which we need to. This planet sustains me, you, everybody watching this, and millions of species that are all going rapidly extinct because the alternatives exist and are being ignored, and rich people are investing in fossil fuels to the detriment of our future. And that's continuing. And it's continuing at such a rate that our future and the generations to come is in complete jeopardy. And this is one of the only ways that we can actually raise that alarm and show how passionately we feel about this by taking direct action. It's non-violent. I'm here because this is love in action. I care deeply about the planet, about wildlife, about the future generations to come, and it's just I can't stand by and not do anything. I can't sleep at night if I know enough of what's going on and I need to take action. So if I'm not taking action, what am I doing? I'm just letting it happen, and I can't let it happen. So that's what I'm doing here today.
So where are you coming from? Where are you based?
I've travelled up from the southwest because the capital has got a high concentration of the corporations, organisations, and government buildings. So it's the heart of our country, and where decision making is happening. So, it would be fine for me to stay in the beautiful fields of the West Countries and enjoy the gorgeous landscapes there. But knowing they're under threat because of the decisions being made here brings me here. I have a day job. Really important that people think that the Extinction Rebellion are all crusties with no jobs. Not only do I have a job, I'm self-employed and I employ people. And I work for 2 charities and countless volunteer activities as part of my job. So
It's amazing they actually managed to fit this in.
I was up last night working till nearly midnight doing emails, so that I could come today. And being off grid as I am today, without my phone and without, I've had to put in place lots of things to make this happen. So it's been a highly organised affair. Doing something like this takes a great deal of organisation. People seem to think that we're foolish or we're stupid. Not at all. There's some in the group that I'm in. There's retired teachers, engineers. There's incredible wealth of knowledge in the retired age group, and then in the age group sort of like myself and younger. There's people doing environmental science degrees. You've got people studying climate change. You've got scientists. You've got doctors. We're not stupid. We are aware. We're aware of what's going on, and we've got jobs, and we're doing this in our spare time. I won't have a holiday this year. I've taken a note. I'm not going to hop off and get a flight somewhere after this, and we get called hypocrites. We can make our own personal decisions. I might choose to reduce my impact on the planet, but I'm not going to put pressure on other people to do that, because that's only going to do so much. It's not. I'm not going to say to you, you need to stop driving your car. When we talk about fossil fuels, we're not saying everyone's got to stop driving. That's not the point. The alternatives exist. We can still have great transport networks. We can still get around, and we can still see people, and we can still enjoy the world around us without polluting the planet, without absolutely denigrating the whole system, without it's bonkers. It's bonkers. So you can see I get quite worked up about the insanity of it all. That's why I'm here.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Really good to hear from rebels on the ground and why they're here. Ordinary people giving up time from their jobs to get down here, and a large number of police have just arrived. Actually, they're moving in on the protesters by the looks of it. Don't know what they're doing at the moment. Just seem to be talking to rebels at the moment. They're going to have to get some specialist teams in to remove some of the glues and lock-ons that we've got. It's really quite emotional hearing from some of these rebels and how they didn't sleep last night. Just going to introduce myself. They didn't sleep last night. They're feeling sick this morning about the action they're going to have to take. Then these aren't hardcore activists that have been doing this for a long time. A lot of them, this is first time activism, first time direct action, civil disobedience. The woman we just spoke to, Rosemary from Lincolnshire, she's come down, she's got children, she's got grandchildren, and she just wants to secure a future for them, which I don't think is too much to ask, really, is it? Yeah, so we'll be here for as long as possible covering this action. I'm James, I'm from Norwich, down for the rebellion with the live stream team, trying to cover as much as possible. Please like, comment, share, get the stories out there if you can't make it down to London. We're here till the 17th, so Sunday the 17th, so please get down if you can. All right, let's turn this round. And I'm using a new bit of tech called a gimbal. Well, it's new for me anyway. So if my camera suddenly goes sideways, then I do apologise. I'm still getting a bit used to it. But really good to be here with the team, really good to be here with these rebels. It was an early start this morning for them all. And I bet most of them didn't sleep last night with the nerves, the nausea. But they got in place from around 7 o'clock. Lloyds of London in central London, one of the biggest insurers on the planet, insuring 40%, as we've heard from some of the rebels, of the world's fossil fuel or energy projects. And that includes gas, oil, coal, and these tar sands projects as well. And they're building that pipeline in Western Canada, which ploughs through Aboriginal land. And let's just go down the steps and see if we can see what the police are doing. I think Lloyds of London employees are struggling to get into their desks this morning because these amazing rebels have literally blocked every entrance and exit from the building. And we feel justified in taking this action, this disruptive action, because we know that direct action does work and makes people listen. A lot of other insurance companies have divested from fossil fuel projects now, dirty fossil fuel projects, but Lloyds of London, this big insurance marketplace, their CEO, John Neal, I hope I'm getting that name right, has refused to do that. He's doubling down on fossil fuel projects, making enormous amounts of money for a very few amount of people at the expense of the natural world, our children, and ourselves, because the climate crisis isn't a thing that's years down the line. It's happening right now. Parts of the global south are already suffering. People are already dying in their thousands from drought, famine, We've got flooding that we've seen around the world, wildfires. We've had wildfires in the UK. There was an island off the Scottish coast that went up not so long ago. Plague Island, I think it was called. It's where they tested anthrax, but it was a haven for wild birds, and I think that a spark must have caught and that went up. Okay, I'm going to go and try and find out a little bit what about these police are doing. Whilst I'm doing that, we can cut to a clip, I think, of one of the rebels who spoke to us yesterday.
I'm taking action tomorrow morning outside Lloyds of London in the heart of the city. Why am I doing this? Lloyds of London is one of the top 4 insurers of climate-wrecking fossil fuel companies. Without this insurance, these companies would not be able to take the financial risks that enable them to build new tar sand pipelines and to explore for new gas and oil and build the pipelines. We're calling on Lloyds of London to immediately ban all insurance trading in fossil fuels. Insurance of fossil fuels must end. We can shift away from fossil fuels, and at the moment our world is heading towards over 3 degrees of heating. That will bring untold suffering for millions. Large parts of our world will become uninhabitable, and it will be truly disruptive for every single one of us. I'm taking this action because I don't see those in power doing anything to stop this. They are continuing to fund fossil fuel industries, and I feel I have no choice but to stand up. I will not be a bystander to this. I'm calling on every single person to take action, and the time to do that is right now.
All right, I'm at the front of Lloyd's with this big banner says Lloyd's Insure Climate Breakdown. And we have a rebel here. Can I ask you why you're here?
It's about the enablers of the fossil fuel industry. So, my concern is how we live together on this planet, and obviously fossil fuels is going to wreck our futures, our kids' futures. And when you actually feel that, it's pretty shocking. And insurance company, the fossil fuel extraction, tar sands and everything can't happen without insurance. It can't go ahead. Lots of insurance companies are pulling out of fossil fuel industry. It's a dying industry, and there's one main one that isn't. It's insuring up to 40% of fossil fuel extraction, and that's Lloyds of London here, and that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. We've got this banner here, just so that people know, because I don't think people know. It's just, I think if people did know a little bit more, maybe things would change, and Lloyds would think differently.
Can I ask where you come from?
I'm from Oswestry, so part of Wales region, Oswestry and borders. Yeah.
Long way down to come to London.
Yeah. Well, needs must, isn't it? And I have to book time off to do this, and it's not an easy ask. I wish I wasn't doing it, but here I am.
Good. Thank you for your time.
All right, you're welcome.
I'll see you later. It's amazing who you bump into on protests. I just bumped into someone I met at a camp out in Scotland about 2 years ago that I haven't seen since. I didn't realise he was a rebel, but he's glued on outside Lloyds of London. So if you're just joining us, I've forgotten what day it is already. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, day 4 of the rebellion, and we're down in London all week until the 17th, off the back of the IPCC report that came out last week, which again drove home exactly how much of a crisis we're in and how we need to act right now. The IPCC report, let's remember, is a conservative report because it's moderated by governments around the world that have vested interests in fossil fuels. So the summary of the IPCC report gets heavily scrutinised by these governments because they don't want too much of a negativity around fossil fuels. They still think we need to keep using that. But the report also talks about how that 1.5 degrees target, at 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels of global heating, is very likely to be broken. And we've been striving to keep under that because we know above that, even more catastrophic occurrences occur. So occurrences occur, that was a good wording. So we're already seeing increasing storms around the country, and it's the severity of those storms around the world that are increasing as well. Wildfire, floods, the oceans are acidifying and warming up. Floods and fires, and we haven't even hit 1.5 yet. If we go over 1.5, every fraction of a degree is important here. The current projections are, if we carry on the way we are, we could be hitting plus 3 degrees, plus 4 degrees by the end of the century, and that's when large parts of the planet become uninhabitable. We're already seeing mass migration. There was another stat which actually really shocked me. You think how big Africa is, the continent of Africa, and how many people live there. Well, if we carry on the way we are, it's likely, and this might even be locked in now, that within the next 8 years, half the population of Africa could be displaced if emissions and our activity and our ecocide continue the way we are. And a lot of this is the global north. You know, this isn't the global south. We're the ones that consume, emit so much more than the global south, and they're the ones suffering because of it. So half the population of Africa within the next 8 years could be displaced. Shocking stat. Just think about that for a minute. And where are they going to go? Well, the trouble is when you get mass migration of people, you can get conflict over remaining resources. Wars can start. I mean, you've got the war in the Ukraine now. That's probably, unfortunately, a taster of what could come if we don't act right now in a compassionate and caring way. And the activities of Lloyds of London certainly aren't helping with that. We've been hearing from rebels this morning who are locked and glued on, and people call us all sorts of names. They call us protestors, as we heard earlier, dangerous radicals. And Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, he said the rebels and climate activists aren't the dangerous radicals. The dangerous radicals are the governments, the fossil fuel corporations that are continuing to endanger our future right now by extracting fossil fuels. They're the dangerous radicals. We're the ones that are trying to stop it, or at least raise awareness of it. So large police presence here, but they're just talking to people at the moment. And I think we're going to go over and hear from another rebel now.
Okay, so I'm here with 3 rebels in front of this very elaborate gate in front of Lloyd's. Can I ask why you're here?
We're here because the very clear message of this rebellion is that we need to stop all fossil fuel investment now. And Lloyds of London insure about 40% of the global insurance market. So we've shut down the building today so that they can't trade.
And why are you personally here? Why?
So I also just wanted to say we are all chained on, knees and nightly. I think for me a very personal reason is 3 years ago I was with my 4 nieces on Waterloo Bridge. They were then between 3 and 11, and there was a real moment of hope that things actually might change. And here we are 3 years later, and nothing has changed. On Thursday, my niece, who's now 14, comes to join me on Rebellion. And for me, it's really for them. I really don't want to fail them.
Don't you find it frustrating after 3 years?
I'm actually close to tears right now. It's frustrating. I'm upset. You know, here they are, these young people, they know exactly what's going on. And they know that we are not doing our responsibility here. They really know it.
Where are you guys from? So where are you guys based?
South Devon.
Devon also.
Yeah.
And I'm from Bristol.
Okay, so You guys have come a bit far to be here in London. I mean, why not protest in Devon? Why not protest in Bristol?
Well, this is the heart of the financial district. This is the heart of the power, the financial power that is driving the crisis. So we have to be here. We have to be here in our numbers, and it's really important. There's an opportunity for rebels all over the country to come together, because the value of being together in solidarity with each other, not only in terms of the impact that we can have, but also in terms of how that supports us as rebels individually, is absolutely crucial. So I've come from Bristol, and that's where my kids are. I've got 2 children, they're 12 and 9, and I'm here because the CEO of Lloyd's, John Neal, is pursuing a path of destruction. And we need to remember that what is legal is not necessarily a guide to what is moral. And it's really, the Chancellor and his wife have been showing us that this week as well. Lloyds have a policy. They will continue to invest in fossil fuels to wring every single last dirty drop of profit out of this industry until they are legally required to stop. So they're not doing anything illegal. We will be criminalised for our actions here today, but they are the ones who are not doing anything illegal, and they are destroying my children's future.
Would anyone like to make a last comment?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I'm here for the complete devastation that has been happening, that is happening and has been happening to people's lives, to people's land, and not only in what is happening through climate change and climate crisis, but also actually just through the extraction of the oil and, and just the lack of care for lives of others and also the other beings that we share this earth with. So I'm here for that also.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good to hear from other rebels, and what motivates them to be here today, either for their children's future or because of the destruction they're seeing around the world right now, the ecocide that we're seeing right now, whether that be in the forests, in the jungles, in the seas, with the overfishing and the pollution that goes on. Plastic pollution has driven a lot of people out onto the streets as well. I'm just looking down on, so the police, they have specialist teams of police, and I think the team has arrived that deals with lock-ons and glue-ons. So what they have to do, and that's why looking down here, you can see a policeman or police person who's just searching the rebel that's glued onto the doors that we spoke to earlier. They just have to make sure that they haven't got anything dangerous in their pockets. There's a routine they have to go through, and then they bring in the kit to try and unglue them. But it's going to take a long time for that to happen with all the rebels that are glued on here. I was chatting to somebody earlier, said the operation this morning has gone really well according to plan. Everyone was in place, and the rebels are glued on here down in London. Lloyds of London is where we are today on day 4 of the rebellion. Let's just go for a little walk round. So I thought the police was putting in a cordon, but they're just standing by at the moment, keeping an eye on things. And I heard one of the rebels there talking about how, well, why don't you protest in where you come from, whether it be Devon or Cornwall or other parts of the... Oh, sorry. Yeah, no worries. So we're not allowed down there anymore. They're keeping us back. Why do you come to London to protest? Why don't you protest from your home? And she was saying that it's the heart of power here. It's where all the decisions are made. It's where all the money is. It's where it can make a difference. So that's why we have to come to London. It's where traditionally civil disobedience have taken place in the centres of power in countries, whether that be in the UK, in the US, in India, all around the world. And that's where it can make a difference. And yeah, disruption happens. I don't think any rebels here want to be here today, but they feel they have to be here because nothing else is making a difference. We've heard from the scientists. We heard from scientists over the last few days who've been taking action against some of the fossil fuel companies to try and remove their greenwashing, because that's what a lot of these companies do, including Lloyds of London. They greenwash things. They spin things to make it seem like they're taking action, that they're going to divest, that they're going to invest in renewables, when in fact they do the opposite a lot of the time, or they spend a fraction of their wealth. I think it was I can't remember how many billions of pounds that Shell, companies like Shell and Exxon and BP made last year, but their profits have rocketed. Well, it's 25 billion pounds or something it was, whereas fuel prices at the pumps are going up. So all this money they're making for the benefit of a few shareholders, whereas ordinary people are having to pay bigger energy prices. And they're still going up. They're probably going to go up later in the year as well. It just doesn't, well, it's not right, is it? It's immoral. And yes, there's laws that we have to follow, but there's also morals and ethics that we should think about as well. And I don't think politicians and big business such as fossil fuel companies think about that very much. We saw that with the Chancellor's wife and where she paid taxes. And we see that with the media tycoons, these billionaires. There's 4 billionaire media people that run most of the mainstream media in this country. And all of them are non-domicile, so they don't necessarily pay tax in this country. And they're all in bed with fossil fuel companies. So they're all interested in maintaining the status quo. And that's people like Rupert Murdoch. And it's interesting to know that no government has won an election in recent times without the backing of Rupert Murdoch. That's how much sway he has right now. And the number of times his team and he meets with the government is shocking, the amount of lobbying power they have. So this system that we're living in is a little bit broken, I'm afraid. And we need system change. And that's why one of our main slogans, main key points is we need system change, not climate change. We need the whole system to be altered for the benefit of everyone. And you can see the police is searching people now, it's going through bags. And I don't think we're not allowed down the steps anymore, sir, is that right? No, unfortunately not. Stay at the top, yeah, just checking. Thank you. So they're not letting us down the steps anymore. The passerby wants us tear gassed. Let's just take a little look down here. So the arrivals at this entrance are still in place, but yeah, the police aren't letting anyone through now. Be interesting to see just how quickly the police do react to this and remove the chains and locks and glues that the people have brought down today. Non-violence, direct action. Is that that's what that banner says. So, Extinction Rebellion, we take peaceful, non-violent, direct action to try and bring about change. There will never be violence involved with our protests. And I think we're going to go over now to hear from another rebel about why they're here and the action they're taking today. So over to you.
All right, so I've got a rebel here stuck between two banners, Lloyd's Insure Climate Breakdown and Insure Climate Justice. So can you tell me why you're here?
Yeah, so Lloyds of London insure like most of about 40% of the world's fossil fuels, including the dirtiest like tar sands and drilling the Arctic. And they're also at the moment supporting a pipeline, extension of a pipeline in Canada, and which hasn't got the consent of Indigenous people. And I feel, for me, it's like really a symbol of carrying on the colonial past and people that are like this city and especially this building and the institutions around here are like funding all of the things that most of us don't want to happen. And for me personally, being here and part of XR is I'm really scared, to be honest, about where everyone's, like, the amount of migration that's likely to happen, the amount of places that are going to become really hard to live in and uninhabitable, and where everyone's going to go. I'm really scared about, like, yeah, just that movement of people and what that tends to bring, you know, the division and like closing borders, and just, yeah, it just breaks my heart that we could switch this finance really easily to something else. Especially, it's like, yeah, just this feeling of all these digital transactions going through and the different decisions could be made really easily. And there's the city has this idea of like neutrality, so like we're just neutral, we don't make decisions, we're just doing finance, we're just doing business. And to me, it's not neutral. Like, where you put your money really matters, you know. And
it can be quite political where you put money.
Yes. Yeah, it matters. Like, we all know as individuals, like, it matters what we spend our money on, and think of the volume of money that's going through here. It really matters. It's not neutral. They are investing in certain things, and yeah. So to me, that argument of they know what's in the Paris Accord, they know what to do, and they actually wrote papers about it and then decided not to, and saying we're going to keep our history of neutrality, and it's not neutral. Yeah.
Where are you from?
So from Calderdale, there's loads of us down. So from West Yorkshire, and yeah.
I think there's a long way to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? I mean, why?
Yeah, we've got. Well, I think for us, it's living in. We're living in a really small place, famous probably for flooding, and it is affecting our communities. But also, there's a lot of consciousness of how also we're really privileged and we're lucky to live in a place where at the moment, like, there is food, there is water, is what we need, and it matters what we do. And being from a small place, it really feels like we need to be also in the city where massive decisions and massive institutions and our government are meant to be acting on our behalf, and they're not. So I felt important to be here.
Oh, thank you for your time.
Again, really good to hear from other rebels there about why they're here, about this being the centre of power. This is where we need to be to make change happen. Lloyds, Insure, Colonialisation, and they've got a long history of that, Lloyds of London, going back to, they were founded on the slave trade, I heard earlier today, the transatlantic slave trade. That's where they made all their money originally. So this building the police are protecting right now was founded on the blood of people taken from their homeland and sold overseas. And they're continuing those colonialist activities today with their extractive policies and investing in insuring fossil fuel projects around the world. And we heard about the the Trans Mountain pipeline in Western Canada that's being built for tar sands products. Ploughing through Indigenous lands, the Indigenous people, First Nations people have said no to it, but they've been ignored, all for the sake of money. And we're demanding stop all new fossil fuel projects right now. That's our new demand for this rebellion. And you've probably seen some of the activity that's been going on over the past weeks. There's an organisation called Just Stop Oil. They're not Extinction Rebellion, they're Just Stop Oil. They're a separate organisation, but we've been performing activities with them in a coalition, I guess you could call it. So yes, we acknowledge there are some fuel shortages around the country right now, and that's really horrible for people when they can't get necessarily to their jobs or important appointments. But right now people are dying around the world. Right now the crisis is hitting places and the government is refusing to take action. The IPCC report made it very clear what we need to do. The scientists have made it very clear what we need to do. And yet the government wants to even open up more fossil fuel. They want to open up the North Sea, maybe 40 new oil and gas projects. They're considering restarting fracking at a time where we really need to be ruling out practices like that, keep it in the ground. And really, I didn't know this, but most of the oil that comes from the North Sea isn't used domestically. It's shipped abroad, it's sold abroad. It's the wrong type of oil for petrol and diesel. So if the government allows companies like BP to extract more oil from the North Sea, it's not going to go anywhere to helping the current fuel shortages, fuel crisis, price crisis. It's just going to line the pockets of investors. So maybe that's one thing to think about. And if you're just joining us, day 4 of the rebellion in London. We're down with rebels at Lloyds of London. I'm just going to step back a little bit, give you a bit of a shot of this enormous building where Lloyds of London marketplace is, the insurance marketplace. Been here since Saturday down in London. Big gatherings. We've seen marches and direct action through the city on Vauxhall Bridge and Lambeth Bridge. And that was very a moment the other day to witness the doctors and nurses. They decided that they'd stay on Lambeth Bridge when the march moved on. And these doctors and nurses know exactly what's happening now. They can see the impacts that pollution is having on their patients. And they can see how it's going to get much worse if we continue on the route they're on with global heating, with pollution. Increase in lung disease in children is terrible in London. and they said enough is enough, and they stayed on that bridge and they were arrested for it. So these are doctors and nurses, perhaps we can listen to them. And the scientists were the same when they took action at Shell. They've looked at the reports, they've contributed to those IPCC reports. Those conservative IPCC reports, we should add, you know, if you talk to a climate scientist off the record, you'll probably get a lot more scary story than what's published in that report. Because we're not stopping fossil fuel investments, we're continuing on with them. So please do get down to London if you can to join us. We're here till the Sunday the 17th. And there's lots of actions you can get, whether it be with our media and messaging teams, with our arts teams, with our outreach teams, or with our actions teams. And you don't have to get in an arrestable role, that's absolutely fine. Behind every arrestable person, there's a whole team of support, whether that's police station support, the people that stay up all night waiting for people to be released. Make sure they have a hot drink and they can get back to their hostel or their hotel or their house and to have a welcoming face. We have the people talking to members of the public, giving out leaflets, letting them know why we're here, letting them know that we're ordinary people just wanting change. We're not crusties or eco-fascists or dangerous radicals. The dangerous radicals, as Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, said, are the fossil fuel companies, the governments that continue to endanger our futures. There's a really good short film actually of Antonio Guterres making a statement after the IPCC report of how bad things have got. A catalogue of human suffering that's been caused by the policies that we continue to follow today. And our demands are the same. Our demands: act now, not by 2050. Just going to turn the camera around and introduce myself. Yeah, act now, not by 2050. That's when the net zero targets are for this country and many other countries. But 2050, I don't know about you, it seems an awfully long way off. When reports are saying we need emissions to peak right now and be half. I think the IPCC needs to slash emissions by half by 2030, and they're still going up. I think atmospheric carbon is now carbon dioxide is now at 418 parts per million. We haven't seen that higher concentration of CO2, carbon dioxide, for millions of years, and it's the pace of the change as well. We've seen climate. Well, yes, people talk about. Well, we have these natural cycles of warming, don't we? Yeah, we do. However, the pace of the change, there can be no doubt. Climate scientists are telling us this is caused by mankind, by humankind. I'm going to try and say it. Anthropogenic global heating. I think I got that right. I probably didn't. Yeah, basically it's caused by us. It's not a natural cycle. This is caused by the Industrial Revolution and everything that's gone on since then, by burning fossil fuels. So it's quite clear we need to make changes right now. That's what the scientists are telling us, and that's why we're in London today, to try and get those changes made, get the government to listen. And that's why we're at Lloyds of London today. Biggest insurer, I think, in the UK. Huge amounts of money go through them every day, and they're insuring, I think it's 40% of energy projects around the world, including coal, gas, oil, and the tar sands pipeline. A company whose roots were built on the transatlantic slave trade. That's where they got a lot of their money from. So it has a very much a colonialist past. An extractive colonialism. And the police turned up fairly rapidly this morning. I think there's about 40 rebels that have taken part in this action. I'm just going to have a look round the corner, blocking all the doors. So you can see that there's a rebel blocked up on. Turn the camera around. Glued on this entrance here, this exit here, and it's the same with all the entrances and exits around the building. There's more up here as well. Just have a little bit of a wander. So about 7 o'clock this morning, I think they moved in. And we've got, I've seen chains, we've got glue, various methods, D-locks on the doors. And you have these specialist police teams that come in to try and remove the different devices, which will take some time. And I get the feeling these specialist teams quite enjoy a challenge as well. Looking at these banners, Lloyd's Insure Climate Breakdown. Climate justice is what we need, especially for the global south that are being affected right now with these pipelines that are being built, with floods, fires, famine. And we're not immune to it in this country either. I'm from Norfolk, it's a low-lying area of the country. We do experience flooding like many other parts of the UK, and as the sea levels rise, it's just going to get worse. So very grateful for these rebels taking action this morning. And I think we're going to go and hear from another rebel now. So yeah, over to you, Alex, if you've got somebody there.
All right, so we have got guys locked on, chained on, glued on around Lloyd's, around the Lloyd's building, but we also got support staff around as well to help out. Now I'm here with one of the de-escalation team. Can you tell me what is that?
What I'm up to this morning, other than having got up at 5 o'clock, and so I'm a little weary. I'm basically here to talk to people who are angry and frustrated about the fact that we're here. It's completely understandable. For some people, we've disrupted their morning, and I completely understand why they'd be a bit frustrated by that. And also to talk to them about why we're here, listen to their concerns, and help them understand exactly why we're here. And also to present a kind of human face to people. The media do nothing in terms of our profile. And sometimes a face-to-face contact with someone and a conversation does a whole load more for people to understand what we're up to. Also, the white vest does help our rebels to know that there's someone in between the angry person and them, just to give them a little bit more confidence in their bravery. And they are brave, they've done an amazing job. So yes, an early start to support these amazing people. So brave.
How has it been so far this morning?
The usual kind of shouts from vans, get a job, and tuts and raising of eyes, but not many people have actually come to talk to me this morning. So I think, we're not that disruptive. We're just spreading our message here today. And I'm guessing you'd like to talk to the corporate rats now as they're behind me.
Yes, thank you for that.
That's okay. All right, no problem.
So yes, we just the corporate rats have just arrived, making their usual lovely message. Right.
Shocking behaviour from these eco-activist crusty hippies. Don't they know we're going to keep insuring the world supply of fossil fuels until there's nothing less? That's it, nothing left at all. It's profits before planet. That's the Lloyd's way. That's what the CEO says. That's our culture. Profits before planet. Insure the world until it's gone.
Well, yeah, that was a very outspoken comments from the corporates. So what do we got? Release the hounds. What do you mean by release the hounds?
I mean, get the police to get these filthy hippies off our building.
Fair enough.
All these people moaning, but look, you're filming on an Apple iPhone. I mean, what's that about? You wouldn't have it if it wasn't for us creating everything, would it? Burning all our fossil fuels to create your society. So I don't know what you're moaning about. You just need to take more personal responsibility. Maybe only buy an iPhone every couple of years, but don't do it too much because then we'll be out of money. So just a little bit, and then it'll solve everything. Make some pledges, but don't do anything, and it'll be fine. Kick it down the road.
Well, people say that you can't eat money, you can't survive on money.
Well, I mean, it buys my lunch every day. Do you go foraging in the woods? No. You go down the shops and spend your money. So, of course, you can live on money. I live very well, thank you very much.
What's the 2050 is our deadline? What's that about?
Oh, well, that's our deadline before we start doing anything. Because, nothing's going to happen to us in the UK till 2050, is it? We lose a few islands in the Pacific. Who cares? I don't even go on holiday there, and I can afford to. So what's the point about worrying about that? Kick it down the road. That's all you need to do. Start thinking about it then. Let your children and grandchildren worry about it. You're too old to worry, aren't you? So don't worry.
Well, some very outspoken words from the corporates there. And I think they're roaming around the building now, spreading their message. And I think we'll head back to James.
Yeah, hearing from the court rats again. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting to hear what they say, isn't it? But kicking the can down the line, which is exactly what the government's doing, making the problem for future generations. Don't do anything till 2050, which it seems to be what the government is intent on doing. Putting off what we really need to do right now in favour of short-termism. So yeah, the court rats are here spreading that message. But actually we don't need to worry now. Just make a few pledges. Kick the can down the line. Everything will be fine, you don't need to worry about it. But it's no laughing matter really, is it? We are in a lot of trouble unless we act now. And the government is refusing to do anything. They're finding excuses not to do anything. They're hoping that crises like the Ukraine war will mean people don't pay attention to the climate reports, the IPCC reports. They can brush it under the carpet for another day. And that makes me really angry and upset, you know. I've got a niece and nephew who are 8 and 10. I'm in my mid-40s and I wonder what's going to happen to them. Are they going to live as long as I have? And that's really worrying, or terrifying actually, and for everyone's children. And that's why we're in London today, the heart of power. We have to come to places like London to take direct action, because that's the only place that makes a difference.
Be able to see if you could find somebody from, could you get Polly from Wellbeing to bring me some, to come down here, just in a blue jacket?
Yeah, I've got a mission now. Just going to wander down to this end of the building, try and find Polly from Wellbeing. I'm multitasking, live streaming and finding Polly. Is there Polly from Wellbeing here? Could you guys see Phyllis on the corner? She just asked for some help. Thank you, Polly. There we go, mission accomplished, directing Wellbeing. Wellbeing's a really important role that we have here. I'm just going to go to the corner to have a look and see what this banner is down here. Yeah, we have Wellbeing teams that roam around and make sure rebels are all right on actions, make sure they've got some food, they've got some water, they're comfortable, and not getting too freaked out by what's going on, because as we heard from some people this morning, you don't get a lot of sleep before an action if you've got the nerves on, and you can feel quite sick. Here we are, central London, on a busy Tuesday morning. People going to their jobs, and rebels out on the streets who've taken holiday from their jobs. Lloyd's Insure climate breakdown. And you can see the climbers have been busy. Don't know if you can see the banner up on the building. End fossil fuels now. The banner has been suspended from the building up there. The Love in Action banner as well. I've seen that one before. I had not realised that we'd had banners suspended for the building. Excellent stuff. Really big operation. There's more rebels down at that entrance down there as well, entrance exit. So all the entrances on Lloyds of London are covered. And the police have moved in numbers, but they haven't started taking locks off yet by the looks of it. They're just stopping anyone new going down. And we'll be here as long as it takes today, or as long as we can be today. It will take quite a while for the police to actually remove all the glue and locks. It's quite a big operation. When you've got 40 rebels on the ground, it actually looks like it might be slightly more than that, looking at the numbers. I don't know if you can see the heavy chains on the rebels there that they've locked onto the door there. I think that's a lift that goes up there. So they're securely locked on. That's going to take some effort to get through. So we'll be covering it for as long as we can, or as long as our batteries last in any case. And that was an important point actually that the court rats were making, you know, about obviously they're spinning it for their nefarious ways, saying that you can make personal choices, you know, don't buy a phone as often, don't worry too much about buying new kit and stuff like that. But actually personal pleasures won't take us where we need to go. We need complete system change. That's what we're asking. Well, that's what we're demanding now. It's not asking anymore. The situation's got far too critical for that. We need complete system change. And the really nice thing is, if we have that system change, we could build such a more pleasant world, a more sustainable world, a greener world, a happier world. Yes, certain changes are locked in now, but if we transition to a more sustainable future now, we got.
Wouldn't you have to build pipelines or dig coal without insurance? What a scam! What they don't realise is we're also guaranteeing the death of the planet. They're paying us for the destruction of everything.
Burning coal. Yeah, court rats have a very clear message here. I think they're up for continuing. Money is God. 2050. 2050 is the deadline. Yeah.
That's when we're going to start thinking about maybe possibly doing something, because we might get affected in 2050. Before that, we're going to be fine. So why worry about it?
So you think we can just? What were you saying? Going to kick the can down the line?
That's right. Exactly. That's right. Make a pledge and then don't do anything about it, because that's going to save the planet.
And how do you feel about people like Priti Patel and Boris? Are you on board with them?
Well, they're on board. They're on board with us.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah. I gave them a bribe the other day, actually.
So you're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Of course
we are. Yeah, maintaining the status quo.
Exactly, but don't quote me on that.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. You're not live or anything. It's absolutely fine.
Exactly. That's
right. Yeah. And release the hounds. How do you feel about these rebels today? What they're doing?
I'm just waiting until you media turn their backs and I can order the hounds in, give them a good kicking.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah, these are just ordinary people that are worried about their future. You don't think that?
They've got no future.
They've got no future.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
You've got to get used to it. You're going to have all these 700 million economic migrants coming over when Africa starts to burn. They've got to get used to this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens today then.
Yeah. The police are here to do the right thing. They're protecting buildings, not people. Protect and serve my bank balance.
So we need to put infrastructure first, do we, and money first?
That's what the police like to do. Yeah. Buildings are more important than people. That's what they understand.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for, I think, being here. Thank you. I'm not really sure. Yeah, court rats have a very biased view of things, I think. Maybe we ought to go over and actually hear from somebody that's a little bit more sensible. Hopefully, Alex, you've got an interview lined up with somebody that isn't trying to destroy the planet.
Hi, I'm with a rebel at the front of the Lloyds building. Can I ask you what brought you to Exile? Why are you holding this banner here today?
Today particularly is because I'm shocked yet again by the latest IPCC report, and I just can't believe that the whole world isn't taking notice of it.
What is the IPCC? What is that?
Well, I think what I can remember about the most recent is Antonio Guterres saying that, yet again, that we have got to do something really, really urgently. The window of opportunity for making a difference to the survival of humanity is getting just smaller and smaller, and we just don't have time anymore.
Where are you from?
I'm from Leicester.
Leicester, so it's a bit of a trek down.
I'm getting used to it. I do it twice a year. The first rebellion, I thought, this will sort it, won't it? But we're still here. We're still coming back. We shouldn't still have to be coming back.
How's your energy levels then?
I'm getting very practiced at keeping them up and keeping myself in good shape for doing this work. I'm nearly retired, so soon I'll be able to do it full time. That's great, isn't it?
Can I ask you what do you work as then?
My favourite job is growing vegetables. I think food security is a huge issue. We've all got to learn how to grow vegetables.
Thank you for your time.
Growing vegetables, food security. Yeah, that's a really important point, isn't it? We've got, we know the war in the Ukraine. Ukraine, I think, has been called the breadbasket of Europe before. Lots of food comes from there. So that's been disrupted, and obviously we'll see potential price hikes because of that. But it's not just Ukraine. We've got food shortages happening as harvests fail around the world, and that's happening now. I think there was a big shortage of stuff down in, because some South American harvests failed last year. And as the world heats up and habitat's destroyed, the problem's only going to get worse. So yeah, maybe one thing we can all do is grow our own veg where you can at home, and move to a more plant-based diet perhaps. That would be a good idea. Large parts of the Amazon get cleared for cattle ranching, cattle farming, and the Amazon itself, we heard from someone the other day, it says a scientist was saying how it's reached a tipping point, and it's very likely, and it could switch to savanna, to grassland very quickly. I know the Amazon has been called the Earth's lungs before. I know the oceans are actually probably equally as important in that, but yeah, this tipping point is fast approaching, and we could see the Amazon disappear. So if we can move to a more plant-based diet, we could perhaps avert that. Less reliance on meat, even if you can just reduce your meat consumption a little bit. If you're just joining us, we're on day 4 of Rebellion down in London. We're at Lloyds of London, big insurance company in the heart of the financial district. Rebels locked on, glued on from around 7 o'clock this morning. Here for a number of different reasons, but primarily Lloyds of London insure 40% of the world's energy. They insure fossil fuel projects such as coal, gas, oil and tar sands. And we were hearing earlier how you've got this trans-mountain pipeline in Canada, Western Canada, that's ploughing through Aboriginal First Nations lands, and they haven't given consent for that. Their rights are being trodden over, their ancestral lands are being trashed by this pipeline, polluted by this pipeline. So we're standing in solidarity with the earth protectors, who, it has to be said, face far tougher action by the police than we do in the UK. But the police here are protecting a building whose employees are complicit in that trans-mountain pipeline that's destroying those lands. So solidarity with the earth protectors in Canada, really important to recognise the efforts they're going to try and stop the destruction. And it's not just Canada, it's the Arctic, where there's oil and gas drilling going on, and they sponsor those projects as well. Extracting all this fossil fuels from the ground for us to burn, and primarily in the global north we're burning it. We emit far more CO2 per capita per person than many of the people in the global south do. And that's an argument that's often made, isn't it? Oh, why don't you go to China? Why don't you go to China? Why don't you go to Russia for your protests? Well, actually, London itself is massively invested, the City of London, the financial district, in the fossil fuel trade. I think if you counted London as a country, it would be like the ninth biggest polluter or something. I may have got that stat wrong, I'll have to check later. But it was really shocking when I first heard it. So we can take action here to try and reduce emissions, to get the government to change policy, to get these big companies to divest. And less of the greenwashing, please, Lloyds of London and other companies. Don't make out like you're doing good when actually you're still investing, doubling down, I think it was said, on fossil fuel projects. Their CEO wants to invest even more into them, making as much money as they can whilst they can for a few people, and whilst claiming that they're going to divest soon. But actually it's just words. They're not actually doing anything. And it's the same with the government as well. They're not actually doing anything. So rebels have been here since 7 AM and will continue to be here for as long as it takes for the police to remove them. And I think actions against real climate criminals, the people that are actually driving the crisis, are so important. And we can hear from one of those rebels now, I think. Let's find out why they're here and what they're up to.
Yes, I'm with one of the rebels holding the banner at the front of the building. Can I ask you, why did you wake up at god-awful time
Yeah.
to hold a banner on a bit of a windy, chilly day?
I'm absolutely terrified of my future. So I got into Extinction Rebellion a couple of years ago, and since then, like, I feel like everyone's in such denial about the severity of the issue, and reading things like the IPCC report, the UN Secretary General's comments earlier this week or last week. I think it's a severe issue we're facing, and our government is not stepping up to the plate at the moment. It's still investing money into fossil fuels when we should be desperately divesting. I mean, it's putting through 42 new oil licenses at the moment, and it's obscene to me that they would choose to do that, knowing what the future is looking like for us. So yeah, I'm here because I'm scared of my future. I'm scared of my generation. I feel like my friends and all the people my age that I know are all so terrified, and the only reason some of them aren't here is because either they're here or they have a doomist mentality of feeling like they can't do enough to change it, and they think our future is doomed regardless. So it's either find hope by being here or lose hope and give up, and I'm not ready to give up yet, so that is why I'm here.
What does your family think about you in this?
Not good. I don't have much support from my family, so they know I'm here, but they don't know why. They don't really get it. I have a lot of discussions with them every time I go home to see them, and yeah, saying that, my dad's quite supportive, so he gets it. But yeah.
So I mean, friends
Friends are very supportive. I have a lot of support from my friends. We're all in the same boat. We get it. We've watched the documentaries. We listen to the reports. We listen to podcasts, everything like that, and we kind of grieve together for the state of the planet at the moment. I've done lots of crying with my friends about our future. So yeah, lots of support there, and I'm really glad and thankful to have a supportive circle around me that understand it and get it. And I think slowly people are realising the severity of it, and we just need to keep making people understand. That's all I can think to do is just people need to get it. They need to wake up to this, because it is just the most severe crisis that we're facing as humanity. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
The most severe crisis that we're facing, that we've ever faced, probably as humankind. I think that's a really poignant thing to say. I mean, we've had disasters in the past, wars and famines, but I mean, we're approaching those tipping points that we've heard about very rapidly now. And that's why a lot of rebels feel compelled to be here to take action. And it is difficult having those conversations with friends, with family who perhaps don't get why we're taking direct action. Those conversations are really important, and they're not going to be comfortable things half the time. And our actions do involve disruption to, unfortunately, ordinary people's lives sometimes.
You should not condone that. You should not allow him to do that. He's entitled to his opinion, just like you are. No, that's not an opinion. That's offensive behaviour, sir.
Just it's a bit of discussion going on with the policeman, the person, so just moving away. Yeah, so a bit of a shout out to our social media channels actually, on the subject of getting the story out there, those difficult conversations. So we've got our Facebook channel where you can look at things, XR UK, where we're streamed to. We've also got our XR UK live Twitter stream now, where you can hopefully retweet some of our clips. Have a look at that. Keep an eye on Instagram, keep an eye on our main social media channels, and get the story out there if you can. We're not doing this because we like disrupting lives, but Lloyds of London are very complicit in the climate crisis. It's important people understand that. And they're not going to change unless they're made to change. And the government certainly isn't encouraging that at the moment. 40 new oil and gas projects they've got on the table. They may look at fracking again after that was taken off the table, but it might come back on the table. And I'm sure Lloyds of London will have a hand in ensuring those. So do please speak to your friends, family, colleagues. Let them know that we're taking action for everyone. And that's probably the best way to get the urgency of this crisis out there, is to have those personal discussions. And if you can, please come and join us in London. We're here till the 17th. We started on Saturday. We're here till Sunday the 17th. We'll be taking action, performing outreach with members of the public all week. And there's lots of roles you can fulfill, lots of roles you don't have to be arrestable like many of the rebels are here today, glued on and locked on. There's support roles, there's media and messaging. You can be part of the arts team that make these wonderful banners that we see, and placards and other artwork. Part of the actions teams, part of the outreach teams that get out and speak to people. Or of course the Samba crew. You may have seen our Samba crew. Sorry, I'm going to stay up here. You may have seen our Samba crew that have been out on the streets supporting the rhythm of the rebellion. We could say they are supporting our marches and actions with a host of drummers and other musicians marching around the city. And they really keep rebel spirits up when they're doing that. Really important. So if you've got a drum, come and join the Samba crew. Add to the rhythm of the rebellion. And we got a key demand for this rebellion, which is stop all new investments in fossil fuels right now. We know that there's some fossil fuel infrastructure that will continue, but let's keep what we haven't extracted in the ground. Let's not take any more out of the ground. Let's not start any new fossil fuel projects. And that's our demand for this rebellion. The IPCC report has told us, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that's quite tricky to say at this time. That report came out a week, Monday ago. And that report actually stated that we need emissions to peak by 2025 and to be halved by 2030. But the emissions are still going up. And actually that's a conservative report. You've got governments like China, like India, I'm sure elements of the US and even in the UK that want to moderate that report and put a bit of a spin on it. Bit of a spin on it to make it seem like actually the urgency isn't quite there yet. But scientists are telling us different. Scientists are saying we need to act right now. The government's own climate change committee are telling them that we need to act right now. The government's own climate change committee made 25 recommendations in the last 12 months. The government, I think, has done one of them. They haven't done the other 24 at all, or even got close to it. So this is how inactive these people are. They're not doing anything concrete. It's just words, not deeds, and greenwash from them. And I don't know about you, but net zero targets by 2050, that feels a little bit far off to me. By 2050, if we carry on with the current trajectories, temperatures will have broken through the 1.5 degrees. We could be at 2 degrees, we could be at more than that. We don't exactly know how quickly the pace of climate change is going to happen. But we do know what we can see now is the effect of, I think we've got 1.2 degrees of average of warming at the moment above pre-industrial levels. And what's that doing to the planet? Well, we've got massive floods, not only in the UK, but around the world, places like China, the US, I think India and Bangladesh, obviously, where parts of the country are being submerged by rising sea levels and extreme weather events. And then the wildfires as well, like we had the wildfires in Australia a few years ago where they had extreme temperatures and it looked like the whole coastline of Australia was on fire. And then you had the bats that were dropping out of the trees because they just can't survive those extreme temperatures. And then over in the US, we've seen wildfires as well, places like California. And as the permafrost melts in the more northern regions and methane's released, that can go up with a spark and more fires. And we got the court rats back. So let's just switch round to the court rats.
you doing sitting down here? I mean, it's like,
The court rats are back, peddling their lines about burning coal, peddling their lines about 2050 is all right. It's okay to burn gas. It's just here from the court rats.
And someone on top telling you what to do. That's what I've always said. Yeah, and after about 5 years there'll be a takeover, and then you'll just everything you're doing will just turn around and be supporting us.
Right to you.
Yeah,
their wages.
Exactly.
We don't pay any tax at all.
So why don't you just get up and get a job?
No tax at all.
Oh, well done. There we are. Thank you very much. Well done. There we are. In fact, if you really want.
Personal responsibility is all you need.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me where we're at Lloyd's today and what this action is about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here today as part of Extinction Rebellion. We're here at Lloyds of London, which is this enormous building here, and I am supporting these two brave rebels who are locked on to one of the entrances to the Lloyds of London building. There are rebels all around the building, locked onto all of the 20-something entrances. So as far as I know, nobody is going in, which was the intention of the action today. So we're here at Lloyds of London because Lloyds is an insurer, and every fossil fuel project needs insurance to go ahead. Without insurance, it can't go ahead at all. So Lloyds finances 40%, insures, not finances, Lloyds insures 40% of the world's energy. It's a massive, massive, massive insurer. And if it were to stop financing fossil fuel projects, it would make it drastically more difficult for those fossil fuel projects to go ahead. It would make them more expensive, it would make them less financially viable for the companies that want to do them. So what we're asking is for Lloyds to stop insuring fossil fuel projects. The reason we've targeted Lloyds rather than any other insurer is because it insures some of the most destructive fossil fuel exploration projects. And the big one that I want to talk about today is a tar sands project, and it is the Trans Mountain Pipeline. I was going to say Dakota Access, that's a different one. And it's the Trans Mountain Pipeline. And it is a tar sands pipeline that goes hundreds of miles through Indigenous land in North America. And the people who inhabit the Indigenous land, the sovereign, who have a sovereign right to that land, have not consented to this pipeline being built. And they're putting their bodies on the line. They are taking direct action to stop the pipeline being built, and Lloyds is insuring it. So we are here taking action against Lloyds today because of their continued insurance of fossil fuel projects, particularly the particularly destructive fossil fuel projects of tar sands and pipelines like the Trans Mountain Pipeline.
Good to hear from more rebels. And sorry about the court rats jumping in at the end there at the last interview. They do tend to get around with their nefarious ways, encouraging us to double down on fossil fuel investments, change your mobile phone, it's all fine. We can kick the can down the line on climate. 2050 isn't too late, but actually the scientists are telling us different. So if you're just joining us, we're down in London for the rebellion. We started on Saturday. We've been doing actions and outreach through the city over the last few days. And today brings us to Lloyds of London. That's a massive insurance company that's in the heart of London. They insure 40% of the world's energy projects, including investments in insurance in oil, gas, coal. Still, you would have thought coal was consigned to the Victorian age or at least the 90s, but no, coal's still being burned in power stations. It's still being used around the world. And the project that we're hearing about today, and that's why we're standing in solidarity with the Earth Protectors in Canada, the Indigenous First Nations people of Canada, for this Trans Mountain Pipeline that's being built to carry the products of tar sands extraction. And that tar sands extraction is one of the filthiest types of fossil fuels you can get, heavily polluting the land. And the Aboriginal people there, the First Nations people, have said, no, we don't want this pipeline going through our lands. However, they're just being ignored. And the police there treat them a lot worse than the police do here, with violence, trampling over their ancestral lands. Colonialisation is still rife folks, is still rife. And Lloyds of London is complicit in that. If you look at Lloyds of London's history, extractive policies, they were built on the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. When they got a lot of money from that when they first started centuries ago. This is an ancient Methuselah of a company. I just got Methuselah into a live stream. I'm quite impressed with myself about that. Yeah, this ancient company built on the blood of people that were taken from their homelands and sold abroad. And their colonialist attitudes are continuing today as well. Thinking it's all right, we'll sit tight in London on our piles of money. I guess we can agree with the court rats on that. This is where there is an awful lot of money. Actually, I'm going to wander down to the corner and see if the banner is still there. I'm going to go for a little wander, stretch my legs, see if I can find a bit more action for you. And in the meantime, we'll head over for another interview from Alex.
All right, so I'm standing here with a rebel with a very elaborate looking flag. That is very colourful. I keep thinking it looks like Mr. Men are in it. Okay, so you are all in blue. Why?
Hello, I'm part of the wellbeing crew, and I feel we're an essential part of actions in that we try and stay with the rebels that are locking on, gluing on, to look after them and protect them. We try and look after their needs, keep them comfortable and warm and dry at times. We try and liaise between them and the people around them. They often can't see what's going on, so we're their eyes as well.
We got two guys up here, haven't we?
We have, yes. We've got two rebels glued on at the top of the stairs there, and I've made sure they're warm and sitting on mats. Provide them with things like that. See if they want any drinks and things. They tend to try and restrict their drinks. We try and encourage them to drink. And sometimes we have to look after their toileting needs if it comes to that, if they're there for a very long time. Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, it's... you're there to support. For those guys, it can be quite a stressful time.
It can be, yes. We have to look after their mental health as well. I was just chatting to them, checking they're okay. And obviously, sometimes they decide they need to go, and that's fine too. That's fine too, because they've done their job and they're so brave in what they're doing. And I feel really privileged to be able to help them in any way at all.
You sound a very calm and collected kind of person. You have a very nice soft voice. I must help out at times.
No, I can be very strict as well. I'm a nurse in my day job, so I can be a boss too. But,
you said you're a nurse as a day job. Have you worked with the XR doctors and nurses? Have you worked with that particular group?
I am part of XR doctors as well, the healthcare professionals, and we did action on horse guards on last week. I've forgotten the days now.
It's all blend together, didn't they?
I know. And I wasn't part of their very brave action yesterday, where a lot of them got arrested on the bridge. Or was it yesterday?
I think it was 2 days ago. That was Sunday. That was. Yes.
I know. Yes. So I wasn't part of that one, but no, they're amazing. They're amazing what they do. So yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Just thought I'd give you a few moments there of the trumpet and the violin playing. Bring a bit of peace to the occasion, a bit of solemnity, beautiful music. I'm just at the other corner of Lloyds of London building. It was interesting just walking around it and just seeing how just quite how massive it is. And you've got this large banner, Stop Insuring Trans Mountain. That Trans Mountain pipeline is the one being built in Canada, Western Canada, for Indigenous people's lands. Without their consent, it should be added. And you've got earth protectors there. We're standing in solidarity with them that are saying no, but their rights are being trampled.
Insurance Alliance, you can get away with murder with that.
We're molting.
Oh, we're molting, right.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me, but We have got some dirty scrubbers here. Could try and have a quick conversation with them. Hi, what are you doing here?
We've come to clean up this dirty, dirty building with all its greenwash. We don't have enough to clean it up.
So the Lloyd's insurers declared in 2020, I think it was, that they would cease insuring fossil fuels this year.
Full of shit.
And then at the end of the year, they changed. Would you believe it? So we're here to clean up. We're here.
So that's what greenwash means, does it?
So greenwash is when an organisation says one thing and does another. An oil company's marketing will be full of windmills and solar panels, but 2 to 4% of their business might be renewables. The other 96% is oil and gas. That's what we call greenwash. The world is full of greenwash. Anyway, we've got a job to do. We've got a job to do.
Yeah, so those are the dirty scrubbers. We have a number of creative guys roaming around the building. So we have the corporates, which you saw a little bit earlier, and the dirty scrubbers are now making their mark.
A little bit of clean money. It's hard to find the clean money. It's bloody filthy. It's dripping in hypocrisy and lies and corruption. A corrupt place. One of the most corrupt places. Basically dripping in corruption.
Good to see the dirty scrubbers in action again. Cleaning up greenwash. That's interesting, isn't it, what they were saying about how the companies... So what is greenwash? Yeah, what is greenwash? It's when companies try and spin their way out of practices that are polluting, which are destroying, by saying they're spending all this money and investing in this, but actually, as we heard then, it's just a fraction of their budget that they're actually spending on that. And that's where we need climate justice, people to tell the truth, people to act now. And climate justice is so important when you've got people in the global south that are suffering, that are dying right now at a rate that's far outstrips the suffering that we're seeing in our own country. And we talked at COP26 about reparations for climate loss. These countries in the global south have not contributed anywhere near as much to the current crisis, and yet they're the ones suffering from it. So yeah, greenwash. Good to see the dirty scrubbers here cleaning things up. And actually, I think the number of rebels might be growing here a little bit at the moment. There seems to be more people coming down. So if you are in the area, please come and give us some support. Let us know how you're doing. Got the corporates still spreading their spin around.
Ignore him. Listen to the man in the suit. He knows what he's talking about.
Listen to the man in the suit. Yeah. If we listen perhaps less to the men in the suit, we might be in a better place. And that's what we're doing here today. We are rebelling for life, as we often say. We're putting the interests of ordinary people first rather than money, profit, the oil and gas industry, shareholders. Just turn this around. Day 4 of the rebellion in London. If you can't get down, please like, comment, share this live stream. Get the news out there of why we're here today. Please follow our social media channels. Share our Twitter stream, our Instagram pictures, and our Facebook pictures and videos. It's important to get the real story out there, because the mainstream media, unfortunately, does us no favours. You've got those 4 billionaires, non-domicile billionaires that control most of the mainstream media. You've got people like Rupert Murdoch, and they don't tell the truth. They've got vested interests in the fossil fuels companies. They continue to lobby the government. They've got enormous power lobbying the government. I think Rupert Murdoch's team and himself met something like 200 times over a 12-month period or something ridiculous. And they are going to sway governments with that sort of power. And no government in recent times has won an election without Rupert Murdoch's say. And Rupert Murdoch is a known climate change denier. He wants to maintain the status quo. He wants to keep the destruction going because he doesn't believe that it's a problem. Well, it is a problem, isn't it? Right now, you can see destruction happening around the globe. People in the global south dying. Floods in places like Bangladesh, destroying people's homes. We had terrible floods in China as well. Wildfires raging around the planet as well. And Lloyds of London are complicit in that by insuring a lot of fossil fuel projects. 40% of energy projects are insured through Lloyds of London. And going back to the words of Antonio Guterres, I mean, you can see that a lot of these rebels here today, they are talking to members of the public. We do get a bit of abuse. But actual fact, as Antonio Guterres said, the UN Secretary General, we're not the dangerous radicals. The governments are the dangerous radicals. So if you don't believe us, perhaps you can believe Antonio Guterres. And he was talking about the catalogue of human suffering that's caused as a result of our continued investment in fossil fuels. And that's just going to get worse unless we act now. And yeah, we don't want to disrupt normal people, ordinary people's lives, but we know that civil disobedience does work. We've got a history of it. We've seen with the civil rights movements in America, with the independence movement in India with Gandhi, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, with the suffragettes in the UK, with women's rights to vote. These people at the time were hated. They were not liked at all. Martin Luther King was the most hated man in America. The suffragettes were reviled. But civil disobedience does work. It does bring about change. Because we look about those people now, and we regard them as heroes of their time, bringing about change. So yes, the disruption for a small amount of time now, but hopefully it will bring greater good for everyone if we can get the government to change trajectory. So if you're in London, get down to Lloyds of London and give us a shout, give us some support, please. I might try and find someone for an interview, see why they're here today. Just coming around. Hello, how are you? Let me just adjust my camera. You all right to speak to us for a little bit?
Yes, I am.
Brilliant. I'll just put this up here and then you can speak into that. So if you just want to introduce yourself and let us know why you're here.
Okay, my name's Leslie. I'm non-binary, I'm 73. I used to be a manager in further education, and that meant I had lots of substitutions to do for other staff. So I'm here, of course, about climate. I'm here because Lloyds are the insurers of massive projects such as the tar sands pipeline, which will bring us down because the levels of fossil fuel burning and the carbon in the atmosphere is rising so fast that we are seriously and very seriously in danger of the kind of collapse that Lloyds themselves would suffer and don't want to see. So they're really acting against their own interests by insuring these huge fossil fuel industries.
Yeah, and the projects they continue to insure and fund throughout the globe. Like you said, it's in Western Canada, that pipeline, isn't it? Trampling through Indigenous people's lands.
Yeah, and it's from the tar sands, and obviously the tar sands, this is a massive, huge area of exploitation of very, very poor grade oil of the sort that we really need to get rid of. We have clean technology. It's the cheapest way to do it. There is absolutely nothing except tradition and the ways the money is being made at the moment that's what stops us making this transition forward into a different type of economy. We're actually facing something very similar to a kind of industrial revolution. And these people, the people at the top of Lloyd's, that is, not all the people in that building, but the ones at the top, the ones who are guiding, they are holding it back. They are not recognising we have to change industrially, financially, and that they better get real very quickly about what's happening with climate, because it's going so much faster, scientifically so much faster than we ever expected.
Yeah, it seems like it's exponential. Year on year, it just gets worse and worse.
And if you live in this country and you can walk up and down in the city, it isn't evident, so maybe you're not worried. But actually, it's happening at huge pace in those poorer areas in the world, who of course are not creating the emissions. But those are the breadbaskets as well. They're also part of the international economy. And our economy being so digital based and so global is actually very fragile. And what we saw in 2008 was the kind of crash that went very, very quickly. And what climate threatens us with is a much, much, much bigger crash that we will not be able to bail ourselves out with the money being printed by banks. So these people in these financial institutions need to wake up. They really, really can change the world, but at the moment they're holding us back.
Yeah, get rid of business as usual and let's do a new system.
Yeah, but it's a big job. Let's not kid ourselves. This enormously complicated system we're living in, and to switch it over can be done, because we know that in the Second World War, the orders went out to switch the economy, produce new stuff. Some of the businesses said no, we can't. They were forced to, and they did it within weeks.
Yeah,
it is possible, but
we saw in the pandemic as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
things
but we all got to pull together.
Yeah,
everybody, absolutely everybody, top to bottom, has to be in it and say, yeah, we've got to find the best way to do it, and now.
Yeah.
And that's an emergency that we have declared, but the issue is we've declared an emergency, and we ain't doing it.
We're not, it's words, not deeds, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the hardest thing to turn the words into deeds. That's why Extinction Rebellion are having to up their game, because this is the moment where the action has to happen, and that's the really, really hard stuff for people to swallow.
Yeah,
and people are scared. People are scared that they're going to lose their standard of living and so on. But what they've got to remember is their standard of living will drop totally through the bottom if we don't stop climate. And so we have to adjust our expectations. We don't need to fly to distant places. That's pumping out carbon.
Yeah.
We can holiday in this country. There are all sorts of ways in which we can do something, but it's the big institutions, these massive financial institutions, that really, really run the show.
Yeah, so personal change can only do so much. We need systems change.
Yeah, system
Thank you very much. Yeah, good to speak to you, Lucy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, take care.
That's what we want to do, yeah?
Yeah, that's really good. Really good to speak from ordinary people on the ground, ordinary rebels taking action. And climate crisis is here right now, happening right now. We need to action right now, and we need the people at the top as well as people all through the spectrum to take action. I'm just going to wander back to the main doors. I don't think the police have actually removed anyone yet. These two rebels have been chained on since this morning, and they're still going strong. All right, over there, give us a wave. Good to see you. You all well over there? Any news from the police? Are they going to come and unlock you, or barely? They're ignoring you, are they? They're trying to figure out what to do, apparently. Oh, okay. Well, take care. Yeah, we're just stuck there for the time being. Thank you. So yeah, they don't know whether they're going to be unlocked or not. They're not being spoken to, apparently. Got more rebels up on this doorway as well. Fairly comprehensive blocking of all the entrances and exits around the building, as you can see. And I don't think the police... Oh, this wonderful flag. Very colourful. Excellent. Oh, we've got some scrubbers. The scrubbers seem to be trying to clean the police up here. I'm not sure that's going to go too well. Be careful with that feather duster.
quality underwriting at Lloyd's.
How's the how's the greenwash cleanup going?
Oh, it's lovely. Oh, we love it.
Yeah.
We love working for Lloyd's. They're such a big dirty client, you know. Absolutely.
Are you getting into all the nooks and crannies?
Oh yeah.
With your feather dusters?
Absolutely bet we are.
Yeah.
Every last bit.
Yeah.
It's lucky that there's a lot of us because, you know, it's a big job.
Mm.
But we like a big job, don't we, ladies?
Oh,
We like a big job. Lloyd's are good at that. Come on, let's apply. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
Well, it's lucky you're around, isn't it? Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's thanks to us that, you know, they can carry on doing all the stuff they're doing because, you know, they get to look like they're cleaning their act up, but we all know that they're absolutely filthy.
Oh, well, thank you very much for trying to keep them a bit cleaner.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah, and you.
There's tea up there.
And I think now we're probably going to cut over to another group. I think the tea ladies are here, so over to the tea ladies.
All right, so here I'm with the tea ladies. It seems a bit odd that you guys are serving tea around Lloyd's and the Lloyds of London.
We're serving up a bit of reality, and we've also got accountability. We have honesty, calamity,
Fear of that honesty, I'm afraid.
culpability, and
Negativity.
a little bit of negativity.
Now, let me
We're
tell
here
you,
to talk to the workers today and serve them up a little bit of the truth. Really,
Some sage advice, is it?
company's doing. Yes. And also to de-escalate a little bit because, you know, you can't beat a polite tea lady, can you really?
No,
No, we're
always
just doing a
cheerful.
gentle de-escalating non-violence.
Well, we're here to help and put people straight. We don't want people going away believing all these lies, do we?
That's true.
No,
Definitely,
it's
we
tough.
want to give them some reality.
I do have to say one thing though. Where are the biscuits?
Well,
We run a low-calorie diet.
yes, and we'd like the workers to be healthy.
there is a problem with the biscuits, though. They all contain palm oil.
That's very
It comes
And
from
also,
deforestation.
you know, the whole of the slave trade was built on sugar.
And
We
the
do
sugar
not have sugar.
exploitation.
And this company has been going since the East India Dock Company.
Yeah.
All the ships on the sea, nearly all of them are insured by this vile company, which is basically ensuring climate breakdown.
It is, yeah.
I particularly like accountability. It's something that these insuring bankers just need to just taste a little bit of, you know.
Many of them are actually. Lots of them are dropping
Right.
the people that they're insuring. However, Lloyd's is hoovering them up. So,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
so they're benefiting.
12.6 billion, I understand, that they put into fossil fuels since 2016.
2016. I mean, that's after the IPCC report, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
No, they said we've got only 3 or 4 years to turn this around now.
Yeah.
If that, after the IPCC report, if that, and if we don't, it's going to start becoming irreversible. And that's our children's future going down the drain, isn't it?
But what does Lloyd say about sustainability? Do we know anything
Well,
about
they're claiming that they're insuring, but it's all greenwashing, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, that's the scrubber's job, as is hoovering up the, you know.
They love
We're more kind of tea than cleaning.
Yes, definitely.
Actually, that's why we've got peppermint
We're
tea.
above the scrubbers. The scrubbers are kind of scrubbing along at the bottom and applying greenwash to everything. But we make sure
They'll
that
take
we're,
any dirty
They
price,
will.
any
Any
dirty
money,
lolly from this
anybody's-
filthy company. They have no moral compass, those scrubbers.
Cash your Bitcoin.
Cash your Bitcoin. But we're charity. This is a charity job. We feel it's really important to let the workers know that they can go for a just transition over a cup of tea.
Alternative fuels are available. Sustainable fuels are available.
Well, there is an element of gullibility related to sustainable fuels, though, of course, because biofuels, of course, is all monoculture and you
greenwash.
You're right, precisely. Yeah, and in order to grow these monocultures, they need all of those insecticides and pesticides that destroy the biodiversity. So
that's so bad.
we had a bit of biodiversity yesterday, but I think we run out.
We run out of it, It's going past diversity.
Lloyd's could stop insuring fossil fuels. They could just stop.
No,
Because
that's
they just say no. And if they did that, then those companies who, if they really cared, those companies would not be able to continue with their activities. You can't set up an oil rig if you haven't got insurance for it, can you?
You can't move your coal if you can't insure your ships.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all falls to them.
Yeah.
They have a choice.
I mean, they insure all those ships. I mean, 50% of our fossil fuels are carried by ships insured by Lloyds. And not only that, they use that heavy fuel oil. Heavy fuel oil. And I mean, you're a bit of an expert on that.
Heavy fuel oil has a really big impact on the environment, and even the new version, which is called very low sulfur oil, which sounds great, doesn't it? But actually, it's worse because it has more carbon goes into the atmosphere, and then it comes down onto the Arctic ice caps and melts them because of the albedo effect, because it turns them black.
Look at that Thwaites glacier. I mean, it's
all
risen now. I mean,
all going.
the Antarctic's just kind of.
Lloyds underwrite loads of these shipping companies as well.
They do, absolutely.
Moving this criminal activity around the world.
And they even got Richard Rogers to build inside.
They do.
I thought it was Terry Gilliam who designed this.
So yes, that's why we've got green tea.
He's so funny.
It's green
Terry
wash.
Gilliam,
That's the order of the day here, isn't it?
Oh yes, Did you have a little bit of
People
green
are
wash?
used to greenwash.
Oh,
They get them
thank
green
you.
tea. They do
Well, I think the dirty scrubbers.
Oh no, this is honest tea. No, I'd much rather have honest tea.
Toxic,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
And then
that's
they
good.
get those
Somebody's got some principle.
long haul
I like
place with their dirty money, don't they, to the Seychelles?
Well, it's a hard
going
hard, but in the long run, it's the only thing that gives any hope as well, isn't it? If we all face the truth.
The truth, eh?
Now.
Yeah.
That's why
Just
we're
a
here.
few years remaining.
Some very wise words from the tea ladies. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your tea.
Or we could have a little dance with the band now.
Oh, fantastic.
Everything stops for tea.
For us. So yeah, I'm here because I'm scared of my future. I'm scared of my generation. I feel like my friends and all the people my age that I know are all so terrified, and the only reason some of them aren't here is because either they're here or they have a doomist mentality of feeling like they can't do enough to change it, and they think our future is doomed regardless. So it's either find hope by being here or lose hope and give up, and I'm not ready to give up yet, so that is why I'm here.
And you probably, listening to the tea ladies there, such common sense, so much knowledge, and yeah, sadness as well that they ran out of biodiversity yesterday. Yeah, biodiversity is plummeting around the planet. Species are going extinct right now at alarming rates. And yes, extinction is a thing that happens, but not at the rates that we are seeing today in our oceans, in our forests, in our lands. And the tea ladies are now having a little dance to the band that started up. It's just you've got this lovely band bringing a bit of music to the rebellion, and the tea ladies just bringing some joy to the rebellion as well. Capability, or culpability I should say. So if you're just joining us, just waking up on a Tuesday morning, checking out our stream, we're down in London, Lloyds of London. It's heart of the financial district. You've got the Gherkin over there. Been here since 7 o'clock-ish this morning when rebels appeared. I think there's about 40 rebels that are taking part in the action here today, but more are coming all the time. So if you're in the area, please get down and give us some support. Give them some support. And we're here in part because of our new demand for the rebellion, which is to stop all new investments in fossil fuels right now. We have our existing demands, which is tell the truth, which the government doesn't seem very capable of at times, and corporations as well. We heard from the dirty scrubbers earlier with their greenwashing comments about how these big companies greenwash things, they spin things, so they might spend a fraction of their budget on sustainable projects, but they're still pumping billions into the fossil fuel industries. Companies like Barclays and HSBC. Barclays especially, the biggest UK bank investing in fossil fuels, pumping billions and billions of pounds into this highly polluting industry that's doing us no favours whatsoever. Just turning my camera around so I can introduce myself. Hopefully that's working. I've got this new, as I said earlier if you were watching, I've got a new device, a gimbal, which I'm still getting the hang of and doesn't always go according to plan. So if the camera suddenly drops to the side, that's my fault. And hopefully our director who's sitting in an office somewhere else in the country will be able to cut to somebody else. Just give you a bit of background on the live stream team. So we've got people in the live stream team from all over the country that come down to London. And we have our personal devices and they link towards a central location, and the director there can cut between different scenes. It's absolutely fascinating how it works, and I feel like a proper presenter sometimes, even with voices in my ear telling me what to do. Yeah, so that's a bit about the live stream team. So please do get our message out there, like, comment and share the stream and let people know what we're doing. Look at our other social media feeds, especially if you can't get down to London. Retweet. Or look on Instagram and share the news. It's really important that stories and some of these interviews get out there from ordinary people that have taken holiday from their jobs to come down here. You know, one of the great myths that we get shouted at about is, well, get a job. And I just want to say, well, another one, because we've all got, well, majority of us have jobs, or we're retired, or we're students. There are some full-time activists that think that have taken the plunge into full-time rebellion because they feel that there's no other choice at the moment. The crisis is too bad. But we're just ordinary people like you, trying to do the best for our futures, because the crisis is happening right now. And we'll be here till Sunday the 17th, down in London. If you can get down, that's great. If you can't, then spread the words at home. Talk to your friends, family and colleagues about what's going on and why we're here, because the government inaction is getting worse and worse at the moment. They're backtracking. COP26, they talked about how they're going to make changes, how they're going to end coal mining, how they're going to cut down on fossil fuels. But actually, the government now is talking about opening up 40 new oil and gas projects. They're even thinking about putting fracking back on the table after that was taken off the agenda. So they're not doing what they said they would do. Surprise, surprise. And the IPCC report that came out last week, made it very clear that the 1.5 degree target that was set, you know, we had the Paris Accords, which talked about 2 degrees, then previous COP setting 1.5 degrees targets. That's going to be broken now. There's very little we can do to stop the temperature. I think we're at 1.2 degrees of global warming at the moment. We're going to hit 1.5 unless we take action immediately to slash fossil fuel emissions. And we talk about emissions a lot, but let's also not forget we've got the destruction of the countryside that's going on. Just going to turn around. Sorry. I'm just at the corner of the Lloyds of London building now. Lloyd's Insure Climate Breakdown is what the banner reads here. Yeah, I was talking about the global heating, wasn't I? So, yeah, we're almost definitely, scientists are telling us, the ones that I spoke to the other day, we're going to go over 1.5 degrees of global heating. We're already seeing the effects of that let's look at the UK. We've had floods, we've had fires in the UK as well, extreme weather. Sitting in my my office in Norwich the other day, I was watching hailstorms sweep through. I know it's in April, but I don't remember it being quite as fierce as this in past years. And I think that's the thing, the severity of storms is just getting worse and worse. Floods in Bangladesh, in China, displacing thousands of people. Wildfires in the US, in California, and a few years ago we had those wildfires down in Australia. It looked like the whole coast of Australia was on fire. Just moving back up to the main entrance. Just show you some of the rebels that are locked on here. These two have been locked on the door since 7 o'clock this morning. And the well-being people that we talked about earlier are bringing cups of tea to them. Lots of roles. You don't have to be arrestable. We've got people locked onto the doors here, but the wellbeing team are making sure they get tea. So if you want to get down to the rebellion, there's lots of stuff that you can get involved in. We've got our kitchens as well, where people have been baking cookies, making vegan pasta, vegan curry. Our arts teams, our outreach teams, our regenerative cultures teams, looking after the well-being of the rebels. Lots to do on this rebellion. And I'm going to wander up here and see what's going on the front doors. And in the meantime, we'll cut over to another interview.
All right, so I'm back. If you were watching our live stream earlier, we had an interview with the Bristol and 2 Devon rebels. It is Devon, that was Devon, yes. Sorry. Yes. Southden, always. It's a big difference, yes. So we're just going to have a quick catch up of, I mean, you guys have been locked onto these very elaborate gates. I mean, when did you first arrive here?
We were here at 7.
7, all right. So how do you guys feel? I mean, do you feel relaxed?
I think we've all relaxed since you were here last. We're okay, aren't we? Yeah. And we've had loads of support and loads of company, and the corporates have been round, and the dirty scrubbers have been round, and it's very cheering. And there's been lots of people checking in on us and making sure we're all right. So we've all chilled out a bit.
And we had a lovely trumpet player.
Yeah, some music,
really,
serenaded.
Really nice.
We're having a great day now.
What do you need next? So it's just, well, the tea ladies are coming round, but I don't think you may want to taste their tea. It's
a bit like this rebellion, isn't it? It's all like super stressful at moments, and then there are moments when you really feel all the seriousness and the grief of what you're doing, and then there's just these moments of like ridiculous joy, when just the sheer pleasure of being together with people who you don't need to explain yourself to all the time. It's just, it's it's an amazing feeling.
And I can see you wrapped up in some kind of tinfoil suit there. So
I really emphasized this morning my style, you know. And I knew I would be cold, but style was more important this morning. So yeah, and it's cold. It's cold here because we're in this very narrow street, and we have quite a cold wind, and the sun doesn't get to us. So it's also part of being just in the center of London with all the skyscrapers. You have this really strong wind actually. And I just wanted to say a little bit on what you said right now. Just to look out here, there's so many lovely people actually. So it's really nice, and it's also heartbreaking that we have to sit here. Like it's this dichotomy. It's so lovely. And now we are just asked once again by the policemen if we are chained, and again we say yes, we are all 3 chained. So they keep assessing us, make their notes, come back, and then they will ask us again, are we still chained? We still say yes, we are chained. It's very interesting.
I'm guessing they're hoping that you just wander off or something.
No, I think they just want to have a sense of doing something. I don't mean this disregardful. It's like we are assessing.
What else can they do?
What else can they do? They're assessing the situation. That's how it is. Here we are.
You guys, I mean, when do you guys? What day do you guys come down? Have you been here since the beginning?
Yeah, I came down on Friday, so we were all here.
Saturday.
Yeah, and Saturday's march was amazing. Were you here for the march?
No. I worked until Saturday midday, and then I went directly from the end of what I had to do into the train to London. For all those who say, get a job.
I mean, you said you were here for the march, two of you. I mean, what did you make of it?
Saturday's march was amazing. I don't know how you felt, but I wasn't sure how many people were going to be here when I turned up on Saturday morning. My experience of being in meetings and groups at the moment has been that numbers have been disappointing. So I wasn't really sure whether we were going to get here and find that there were 400 people, or as it happened, 8,000. So the sheer relief, I think, at realising that people had realised that this was such an important moment to all come together in the light of our final warning from the IPCC last week. So it was just a massive sense of relief that we were all together, and as a crowd, as a unit, we just felt really, really powerful.
Felt just really celebratory with just so many people coming together from all the different places, family almost. You know, it feels really, as you said before, just people that you can relate to, that know what's going on, that feel the same as you. You know how desperate the situation is, and that something else. You know, there is a glimmer of hope. There is some possibility for something, for some kind of, even if it's adaptation, to do something. And had some brilliant conversations. There was really good outreach that was fantastic.
I was going to say, were you guys involved with the outreach yesterday?
We were both doing outreach on our time, actually, weren't we? Yeah. And that was really good, and people felt, really concerned about the issues, and it was good to engage with people. Nobody actually joined the march, but hopefully they might join later. Yeah.
I felt on Saturday, I was reminded, I suppose, we all give such a lot to this movement. You know, so many of us turn out again and again and again for actions and for rebellions, and have this conversation with our families and our friends and our neighbours, and she dominates our lives, all of us. We give so much of ourselves to it. And then moments like this, you realise how much the movement gives you back. Because that feeling of being in, like you said, it's like a family. You turn up and you recognise people you've been in action with, or people you've known from, people you're in Cornwall with or in Glasgow with, and it's just the most amazing feeling.
So much care. Yeah. We've been sitting here, and people have been coming over. Well, as I said, we had a trumpet player. People have been coming over so often. Would you like some food? Would you like a drink? What do you need? Just really kind-hearted and generous.
We all really care for each other, didn't we?
Really careful,
Yeah, we had a quick chat with the well-being and the de-escalation people earlier. I mean, they're very positive people, calm, collected, and they go around talking to the guys who are locked on. And almost they're the first people here and the last person to go, because that's it.
I think it's also great to actually have these different roles at times. Today we are the ones who are chained on. The other day we were, police support people. The other day, we did well-being. So it's also like this fluidity of roles, and I think it's so healthy, And one really sees that each of these roles is absolutely crucial. In the moment, it's a little bit more limelighty to be chained on, and I'm really aware there's all this amazing work going on, which is actually fantastic, and this is actually quite...
And also the police support, when you come out from being arrested and having people there to just give you a hug, to just talk to you about your experience, it's so crucial.
That's how we met. She was my arrestee support the first time I got arrested.
And I was there with a big flask of Lady Gracie.
And a great big hug.
A very big hug. Yeah.
I mean, you seem to have a very tight relationship with each other. I mean, but at home, when you're at home, you have your own different circles. Do they know what you're doing? Do your friends and family know?
Yeah, my friends and family know what I'm doing. I communicate with them about it all the time. They don't all understand. They don't all think I'm doing the right thing. Some of them think I've joined a mad, loony cult. And it's very difficult sometimes to sort of describe how this is different, because there's the same sort of level of conviction, but it's science-based, none of us are here because we have a sort of, we're looking forward to the end of the world. We're all looking at the science and going, well, you can't argue with this stuff. You can't argue with what the IPCC is saying. You can't argue with Sir David King when he says we've got 3 to 4 years, and you either choose to listen to that or you don't. And I guess I just hope that in the conversations that I'm having with my colleagues and with my family and my friends and my neighbours, that I'm just seeding an approachable way in for them all. And some people are really receptive and some people are not ready for the message at all. And that's hard, because to add to the grief that we carry for the planet and for our futures and for the thwarted lives that our kids will lead, we carry the grief of knowing that we lose people who are really important to us as well. So coming and being with other people and all the joy that comes from rebellion is absolutely crucial, because there's so much that's around the rest of our lives.
I think what I'm also really aware of when I'm, so like my friends know where I work, I'm absolutely supportive. And I'm also really aware whenever I do something like this, I get a lot of messages of can't come. It's not where they are, but just thank you for doing this on our behalf. So it's not. I really feel also this is seriously meant. It's not where I am, but really, really appreciative for what we are doing on their behalf. And that's great. It's really good to know. And I'm always feel very, very welcome. And I come home, and I never expecting or ask for it, but I feel welcomed home when I'm coming home. And people want to hear, so that's great. So I'm very privileged. I know it's not for everyone, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of gratitude actually for being here and doing what I'm doing. And it's actually opened up conversations. I remember, getting arrested, a few years ago, let's say, and coming home, and neighbours that are just not engaged. It sort of really opened up that conversation. It's like it's a bit of a hero coming home almost from the front line, and it was like, yes, well, this is actually what's going on, and this is why I'm doing it. Given the time scale that we have to kind of do anything, we're going to manage to do anything at all. It's very tight, and that is only going to change really by having an element of direct action in there. We can see that through social history, so kind of being able to have those conversations with people, it's kind of opens that up really.
And I do love it when people say, "Oh, thank you for doing this on our behalf," but sometimes it's like, "Oh, my friend's doing that, so I don't have to do it."
It is, and actually, we need everybody to get engaged. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I think you have a point, Yeah. You have a point. And they really, some get involved and then they do something, like a friend of mine just coming for a day yesterday, completely spontaneously. Thank you for doing this. Oh, I'm coming now.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Great.
And that goes a long way.
Absolutely.
I mean, I actually feel really like, why isn't everybody out here? I can't comprehend. I mean, I can, because there's so many lies and misinformation, or kind of like, it's like, yes, one day it's serious, we get the IPCC report, and it's reported on for a day, and then there's everything else, the news, or
the next day someone from EastEnders dies, and that's it.
Whatever. So it's like, well, it can't be that serious, and surely our governments would be mobilising us, as if we were stepping into war, as if, we were stepping into COVID, but scaling up even more so. So I think people, it's like, oh yeah, climate, but they don't quite get, yes, this is it. This is the moment, and if we don't actually do something in this moment, this is the time to step up.
Sorry, I had to cut it short there. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your thoughts. We'll go back to James.
So it's great. It's a good time because I wanted someone to speak to. Now he's gone.
All right, guessing we're not kind of cut back to James. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Really good to hear their thoughts then. I'm just at the front of the Lloyds of London, so if you're just joining us on the live stream, we've been here since around 7 a.m. this morning. Rebels locked and glued onto the front of this massive insurance company. They've been here for about, I think it's gone 10 o'clock now, is it, around then? I can't actually see the time. But they've been here for several hours, or a few hours now. Police have moved in, and they're looking at how they're locked on. Variety of different ways of locking on or gluing on. People have glued their hands to the floor. In some instances, you can see them down there. But there's also some pretty heavy-duty chains and D-locks that are being used as well. And yeah, they're going to be here probably for several hours yet because it'll take a long time for the police. I can see that there have been some specialist teams that have moved in and they're assessing the different lock-on devices. I think they relish the challenge, some of these police people, and see what lock-on devices they're going to have to deal with today. The police have generally been pretty courteous, but they're not letting us down, other than well-being people, to look at the rebels now. So there's people locked onto all the different doors into the building to disrupt this massive insurance company. And why are we here? Well, Lloyds of London insure 40% of the world's energy projects, oil, gas, coal, and let's just talk about tar sands for a moment. So tar sands are one of the dirtiest, if not the dirtiest, fossil fuel around. The methods of actually getting fossil fuel product out of that tar sand is extremely polluting. And they're building this trans-mountain pipeline in Western Canada through Aboriginal lands. So we're standing in solidarity with the Earth Protectors. Everyone all right down there? UK live stream, how you all feeling?
I'm feeling fine. I feel like this is exactly where we need to be. Standing or sitting here in total solidarity with Indigenous people.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's saying it's exactly the right place to be. It's where he needs to be right now, in solidarity with the Indigenous peoples. Thank you very much. You're sitting in solidarity, stuck to the ground, not too uncomfortable ahead. On the ground, and it feels good to be here. Great to be taking action. And you wouldn't be anywhere else right now. So you're gonna stick around for a bit. That was a terrible, terrible joke. I can't believe I even said that. I can only apologise for my really rubbish humour, but you know, it probably does qualify as a dad joke, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah. Okay, take care. I'll come and catch up with you a bit later. So the rebels there, they seem to be in good spirits. Take risks, yeah, more risks. Yeah, wise risks. Yeah, sorry, I'm just adjusting my gimbal. Yeah, the rebel there was just saying we need to take more risks for our future. So, you know, calculated wise risks to try and bring about change. Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you. So if you are in the London area, near Lloyds of London, then please come and show your support. There's been lots of different groups come around this morning. So we've had the tea ladies. I'm not sure their brands of tea are necessarily the healthiest. They've got culpability. They ran out of biodiversity. I can't even say it. Biodiversity yesterday, unfortunately. You also had the dirty scrubbers around, scrubbing away the greenwash, of which there is a lot in Lloyds of London. So they've got the work cut out for them. The court rats were here earlier as well, spreading their own nefarious line on what we need to do. So maybe don't listen to them too closely. And yeah, you can see the banner down, stop fossil fuels now. So that's a shortened version of our demand for this rebellion, which is actually to stop all new investments in fossil fuels, keep it in the ground. The IPCC report has been out. I'll just go around the police people. Was out last week and talked about how close we are to breaking the 1.5 degrees of global warming. And possibly going, yeah, I'm not going down. Yeah. No worries. So we need to stop fossil fuel, all new investments in fossil fuels now. Let's just walk up here and see the other banner. So just quickly run through our demands, which are the same. We've got the first three demands are the same. So tell the truth, get the government and corporations to tell the truth about the climate and ecological emergency. We want action right now, not by 2050. Act right now to save our rare habitats, our vital habitats, or to cut emissions. We wanted to cut emissions by 2025, not by 2050, the net zero targets that some countries are setting. That's far too late. And then we would like the government and corporations to be led by, or government specifically, by citizens' assemblies. That's really important. Normal people, ordinary people on the ground, guided by experts to make recommendations that the government then follows to transition to a much fairer, much more equitable system. And then the new demand for this is to stop all new investments in fossil fuels right now. We've been hearing from rebels all morning about that, actually, about their own personal stories. And it's really important, I think, that we get the news out there as to why we're taking action. So please do like, comment and share our live stream, share the news, talk to your friends and family about it. And I think we can probably cut over now for an interview with some of the people that we talked to earlier. So let's see what they have to say.
Yes, I'm here to highlight Lloyds of London's role in the climate crisis by their insurance and reinsurance of fossil fuel projects and oil exploration.
Do you intend to stay here the whole day?
I will stay here until I am unglued by the police and forced to leave, yes.
Thank you so much. So, can you explain to me why you're here today? What this action is about?
By Lloyds of London today, yeah. Lloyds of London, as an insurance company, they support new fossil fuel projects around the world. All of the new Arctic oil drilling, exploratory oil and gas, coal mining, and particularly tar sands are reliant on insurance. So without insurance companies like Lloyds of London, they can't go ahead. While other insurance companies around the world are moving out of fossil fuels, Lloyds of London are just mopping up all the work. They're taking all they can get. They are absolutely a key linchpin in the fossil fuel industry, which is literally killing all of us. So we're particularly here standing in solidarity with the Trans Mountain expansion pipeline in Canada, which is in defiance of the Indigenous peoples who are trying to stop it, who are being arrested every day, the Indigenous land protectors. They're building a pipeline through Indigenous lands, which is going to triple coal tar production. It's an absolute guarantee of climate breakdown. It's the worst possible thing they could be doing, and it's happening in this building. It's being supported and paid for in this building. So that's why this building. Does that answer the question?
Can you explain why you're here today and why you're glued on the door?
Well, largely because Lloyds of London is insuring many fossil fuel companies. Lots of insurers are pulling out of that, and they're picking up the slack. So they're making lots of profit from the fact that other people are trying to do the right thing, and they just don't seem to care one way or the other. And the latest IPCC reports have just devastated me, and Antonio Guterres from the United Nations is saying, code red for humanity, and the fact that the real criminals are governments and enterprises such as Lloyds of London, who they're the criminals, we are the sane people. And I'm feeling quite sane at the moment.
Thank you.
It's like when you've got death that you don't declare, and it's kind of like, there are certain reasons. And this is really interesting, actually, because this is an enormous cost. You've got an incredible responsibility, like in society, and if you are corruptible, then that's a really.
Do you have a little XR at the bottom? Yes, please.
Yes. All right. What responsibility you got?
Can you also?
So, can you explain why you're here today and why you're taking action against Lloyds?
Yeah, we're glued on to Lloyds of London building here, which is an insurer, and these guys insure the assets of the fossil fuel industry, which allows them to do stuff that if they weren't insured, they wouldn't be able to do that.
Hi everyone. Really good to hear from rebels of why they're here on the ground this morning, glued, stuck on. I'm just going to move over here where these rebels are singing a bit. It's really nice. So we're down at Lloyds of London on day 4 of the rebellion. Some lovely singing in the background. Lloyds of London, one of the biggest insurers and reinsurers in the world. They're covering 40% of the world's energy projects, including coal, oil, gas, and tar sands. Rebels arrived at 7 o'clock this morning and have glued and locked on various points of the building, using D-locks, using chains, using superglue. The police turned up shortly afterwards, and they've done a sort of semi-cordon round. And since then, we've had other groups of rebels turn up. We've had the tea ladies coming round, telling their own story. Remarkably knowledgeable group of tea ladies they are. They seem to, I think they'd be better in government than some of the MPs that we have at the moment. And then we've got the dirty scrubbers who have been around cleaning up the greenwash. Because let's face it, Lloyds of London is full of greenwash and spin. They say they're going to divest. They say they're going to invest in green and insure green projects, but actually they're pumping the majority of their funds still into these filthy projects. And actually their CEO wants to double down on fossil fuel projects and invest even more. Big colonial history of colonialism, of course, with Lloyds of London as well. They made a lot of their money off the transatlantic slave trade centuries ago. So on from that, they've continued their extractive and colonialist policies, really. So we really are here demanding that they change that. Divest from fossil fuels right now, in line with our fourth demand. Look at that IPCC report, listen to the scientists and do something. Let's just listen to this beautiful singing. We need to build a better future. We need to start right now.
Extinction
Rebellion!
Extinction
Rebellion!
Extinction Rebellion!
There we go. Some lovely singing there. We need to build a better future and we need to start right now. So if you're in the area, try and get down to see us. I think the rebels are going to need support throughout the day because it's going to take a long time for the police to cut them out of those various devices. And if you're not in the area and you can only watch online, then please like, share and comment on our live stream. Look at our other social media channels. We've got a Twitter channel now for the live stream, UK Live, XR UK Live, I think it is. But look at our other Twitter channels, retweet, and our Instagram channels, get the news out. Talk to your friends, family and colleagues. Let them know why we're here. We're trying to build a better future and we need to start right now. And maybe we'll cut across now to some of the interviews that we had earlier in the day, give you a flavour of why the rebels are here.
Can you tell me why you're here today? Why you're taking action against the Lloyds?
Yeah, thank you. Well, there are so many reasons, I think, but we're here basically to ask Lloyds or beg Lloyds to stop insuring and funding more fossil fuel projects. In particular, we are in solidarity with Indigenous peoples who are working hard against the Trans Mountain expansion pipeline in West Canada, which is threatening to undermine their way of life there. So we're asking them to pull out of this project, and we've been having lots of conversations today with these officers about the architecture of this building. So it's a good example. It's a Grade 1 listed building, and it's a great example of bowellist architecture, which is a kind of architecture that kind of shows the bowels of the building on the outside. So it exposes all the things that we usually hide, like the pipes, the sewage, the stairways, the elevators, and basically that's what we're asking Lloyds to do as well, to tell the truth about what is actually happening inside this building, to show all the kind of dirty workings of what goes on inside this building on the outside and come clear. Because I think if people knew what really goes on inside this building, the kind of projects that they are funding, the kind of ecocidal projects that they are funding, everyone would be with us here today.
Can you explain why you're here today?
Yeah, basically we're trying to shut this building down. Lloyds of London is the insurance marketplace, and every fossil fuel project that happens needs insurance. There's a big Canadian pipeline that's being expanded so they can extract really dirty oil from tar sands. Lots of insurance companies have pulled out. The companies trading in Lloyds of London are some of the few left who are willing to insure this type of thing. So yeah, we come along and putting up a bit of resistance, shutting down the building for the day. This is one of the less glamorous locations on a semi-underground exit, but we've got a bit of music and entertainment. So yeah, we can stay here as long as it takes.
So standing on the corner of the big Lloyds of London building, got a filthy bunch of corp rats in front of me, spreading some very dubious messages. Burn gas, 2050 is our deadline, profit before planet. Yeah, that's what they're all about, money. Filthy corp rats, filthy corp rats, burn oil. Rockets to the moon, how's that going to help us? All right, you're going to help.
look after each other. By that I mean, I'm a white man in a suit. Listen to me, not these hippies.
Oh, right. Is that where you're talking the sense, are you?
Exactly.
All right.
Nothing to worry about.
Kick the can down the line.
Don't look up.
Don't look up.
Don't look up.
All
That's
right.
what we're saying here. Ignore the activists. Don't look up. Don't look at them scaling the building. Don't look at the banners. Don't look up.
All right. Okay. Well, maybe we'll let people make their own decision about that, shall we? Oh, you're not sure about that? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was the court rats. Sorry, camera switching around. But we also have the dirty scrubbers. We've also got the tea ladies that have been down here, down at Lloyds of London. Massive insurance company. Day 4 of the rebellion. Please get down here if you can to support. If you can't, please like, comment, share on our live stream, share our social media channels. And we'll be back a bit later in the day. We're going to take a bit of a break now, probably play some more interviews a bit later, and then maybe rejoin the action a bit later to see how they're getting on. But we're going to take a bit of a break. Please continue to watch, and yeah, we'll catch up with you a bit later. Love and rage, everyone. Hope to see you on the streets.
The jury has reached a verdict, and it is damning. This report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is a litany of broken climate promises. It is a file of shame, cataloguing the empty pledges that put us firmly on track towards an unlivable world. We are on a fast track to climate disaster. Major cities underwater, unprecedented heat waves, terrifying storms, widespread water shortages, the extinction of 1 million species of plants and animals. And this is not fiction or exaggeration. It is what science tells us will result from our current energy policies. We are on a pathway to global warming of more than double the 1.5 degree limit agreed in Paris. Some government and business leaders are saying one thing but doing another. Simply put, they are lying. And the results will be catastrophic. Climate activists are sometimes depicted as dangerous radicals. But the truly dangerous radicals are the countries that are increasing the production of fossil fuels. Investing in new fossil fuel infrastructure is moral and economic madness. But it doesn't have to be this way. Leaders must lead. But all of us can do our part. We owe a debt to young people, civil society, and the indigenous communities for sounding the alarm and holding leaders accountable. We need to build on their work to create a grassroots movement that cannot be ignored. If you care about justice and our children's future, I am appealing directly to you. Demand an end to all fossil fuel subsidies. Today's report comes at a time of global turbulence. Inequalities are at unprecedented levels. The recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic is scandalously uneven. Inflation is rising, and the war in Ukraine is causing food and energy prices to skyrocket. But increasing fossil fuel production will only make matters worse. Climate promises and plans must be turned into reality and action now.
It's happening now. An extinction event unfolding faster than when the dinosaurs went extinct. Climate breakdown is evident on every continent on Earth. Those in power are neither willing nor capable of acting on the crises. They lack the courage, conviction, and creativity to do what is required. Corruption is in plain sight. As our planet passes multiple tipping points and the UK sleepwalks into authoritarianism, what Extinction Rebellion does this year affects everything. So we're mobilising like never before for the greatest collective act of non-violent civil resistance in history. Because now is the moment to begin building a world where love, care and freedom are prioritised. We demand the end of the fossil economy. Now is the moment. Will you step up? We will not be bystanders. Will you?
This report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is a litany of broken climate promises. It is a file of shame, cataloguing the empty pledges that put us firmly on track towards an unlivable world.
We don't have the excuse of saying we do not know. The challenge is, do we have the courage to do what must be done?
There will be a time when we will look back and ask ourselves what we did right now.
We know that we only have the possibility of avoiding a looming climate catastrophe if people like us refuse to give up.
Climate activists are sometimes depicted as dangerous radicals. But the truly dangerous radicals are the countries that are increasing the production of fossil fuels.
Nothing is being done to halt this crisis, despite all the beautiful words and promises from our elected officials.
And the science is clear. To keep the 1.5 degree limit agreed in Paris within reach, we need to cut global emissions by 45% this decade. But current climate pledges would mean a 14% increase in emissions.
There is no democratic mandate for this. There is no democratic mandate to destroy the conditions which make the planet habitable.
Whatever this system is, it's had 30 years to sort this problem out. We've had 60% more carbon emissions. You need 1.7 planets to meet the resource needs. It's not working.
We are on a fast track to climate disaster.
I will not be silent while the world is on fire. Will you?
This is not some future harm that is apocalyptic, that is to come in the near future if we don't reduce emissions in 5, 10, 15 years. This is happening now.
This is a climate emergency. Climate scientists